to Rion. So we saw earlier, Patapan took a duel, finished Rion off with a Guardian, right? The wallbang headshot that he found. And we've seen that Recon consistently come in to reveal him on that back position. But the step-by-step stage of this round, X10, they used their stun. I think they used a flash as well, pushing Rion back to his secondary position, where they've already dealt with him a number of times. The same thing happens where Patapan crosses over yellow, pushes up to the opposite side of Snowman, and goes to take Rion down on the back side when he gets revealed. This time, Rion wins the duel, but there's a backup plan of a shock dart by Fox. And that's something that you've been referencing a lot, was the shock darts in particular that we would see in this matchup on Icebox, Tom. You were saying, at least off cam, that you were looking forward to a lot of what these teams can do with the shockies.
Well, yeah, no, I think as well that normally going on to the second half, Medusa is another player who has that. Now, he's had a bit of a rough game so far. I think on the defense as well, like, a lot of your shock darts are just going to be used to try and do some damage in the retakes or maybe a few early positions. But I'm loving all the utility they're using just to make every duel really awkward for Zephyr. I feel like he hasn't come into his own just yet, but there's a pick, giving them the man advantage back. Foxes is just running it, though. In fact, they've just running the gauntlet all the way. They've been spawning these early rotations, Mitch. And because of that, there's only one player defending.
Was he spotted? Oh, well, definitely now. They're taking the duel. The shock dart to come on through, deal serious damage to Net, and Sushi Boy's ready to take another. The plant coming in, but Medusa's sneaking around the backside. That player was so low. If it wasn't for that drone, he could have wallbanged. He could have gotten the kill. But instead, these players, 30 and 78 on Sushi and Fox, are able to play a post plant. They're able to go back nice and passive and hopefully close out this final round with the man advantage they have, running down the clock. Crazy Raccoons have a Hunter's Fury to play with, and they might try to deny some space using it. Medusa, though, straight away, shutting them down. Fox with one, and now the time is theirs. Surely, look at the sneaky play by Sushi. Boys, he's already around, but he gives away his position. There's time here for Medusa, but now it ticks away too far. It's done. It's dusted. Medusa, 4 kills, but no chance he gets that diffused.
He's at least gonna flex on us at the end, earn a few style points and go down to the spike. But you know what? 7-5 half, and considering that Crazy Raccoons basically, what, did they get 1 buy round? Maybe 2 at a push? I think they've actually done all right here. So 7-5, especially now going onto that attacking side. And I still feel like most teams on this map are very uncomfortable with defending that A site. I'm still yet to see like a consistent way to defend it. For example, you look at Sentinels, obviously one of the teams looking to take the entire tournament. They basically just go, okay, we're going to put 10s there and we're going to put Shazam there. And they're going to kill everyone. And you know what? It's a pretty good strat. Like, those players playing unbelievably well so far in this tournament. But as an actual, like, setup, I've still not seen anything that massively impresses me.
I can see that. You know, I think realistically, when it comes to Crazy Raccoons, with rifles in their hands on the attack side, I think they're going to be a whole lot more comfortable. I think they're going to look better. I hope so. But, hey. Pistols have been their forte so far. They've got pistols to play with here. Moving in towards the B side on the pistol, it's going to be an easy plant. You're going to have that beautiful poison orb there to help out as well, and the sage wall blocking any spams from coming through. This is a pretty solid start. How do they handle it now that X10 mounts a retake?
And looking to destroy the turret, but it's Zephyr to get the trade instead. Leaving things back into a 4v4, and so much counter utility just being put into this one. It's going to make things quite awkward. Rion still with a couple of snake bites available to him, but it's actually Crows. Just pushes straight through, already starting to dominate, but there comes those multipliers. I don't think it's going to do enough, though. They'll just defuse Rion a little bit too late with the snake bites, and that's enough for the pistol to be stolen away. The record, Mitch, is not getting any better. That is 4 for 4 now in X10 pistol rounds.
Yeah, when you pop down a snake bite without your poison orb up, you're not doing enough. It's just, you've got to have both. They can at least get it halfway, and especially from that super passive post plant position, they could just swap in. You know, I'll get it halfway, you get it halfway. That's unfortunate to see it go that way, because for Crazy Raccoons, we mentioned they lost the pistol round. They lost the majority of buy rounds. They still ended up 7-5. If they win this pistol here, they would have looked fantastic. But now, they're left down to an eco. But based on the track record, they're going to win this one, Tom.
And then again, this is a very, very safe round coming out from X10. They're just going straight in with all SMGs. No pistol saves, no risky business taken at all. They just want to make sure that they end up shutting down this round. And I'll be honest, I think they're gunning for that Prime Gaming Flawless.
Let's see if they can pull it off. They should be able to. Realistically, like, you look at that buy, it's classics right now. 4 classics remaining. Ghost already dealt with. And Patapan's low, but he can just avoid a fight. In fact, he should just avoid a fight at this point. Pops a cloudburst, pulls back on mid.
Have you met Patapan?
I have not.
Because I don't think he does that. Like, throughout this match, I can tell you there's one thing that this man does not do, and that is avoid fights.
Nasty little Cam. Look at this. They don't even... Why would you look there? You wouldn't. You never would. But, oh, you probably should. With Sushi Boys, he's getting all the info. Oh, there's 2 guys here. Can't see the other 2 on the right. He got a glimpse of Rion for a second.
Oh, there we go.
Now they've seen it. Now they've heard it. They know what's up. That lack of mid control for a second cost them a little bit, but there's the spams destroying the walls. Sushi Boy's able to get that done. Crows with another. It's a cleanup. The cleanup crew are here. 15 seconds left. And at least, I like it, right? An orb, not a poison orb, an ult orb taken for Neth secures some sort of a positive in this round.
Yeah, I really like that, actually, the use of the aftershock. We see a lot of shock darts actually used to try and counter out some of those positions. Of course, as said, it is going to be a Prime Gaming Flawless round, so well played by them. But it's one of those things that, like, I feel like most teams are just trying to deny plants now rather than necessarily aggressively fight. We even saw that as an adaptation Fnatic have to made. It's like, okay, we'll go initially for deep B control, but eventually they went, okay, we're just going to sit passive and try and retake. Well, if you could just stop them planting altogether, it becomes a lot easier, and that's exactly what they did there with the aftershock, just making sure that, okay, if you want to plant this spike, you've got to tank a lot of damage.
Are they going to check the cam this time? Maybe not. 3 players spotted. This free information, man, it's huge. Sushi Boys has to come off it eventually. It's the same cam, identical, same position. Pulls off it. Here comes the recon through the peak by Sushi Boys as they turn to look at the recon. It's so good, baiting the utility. Ult goes down. So too does Sushi Boys. So too does Fox. What's happening here? Bit of over-aggression, perhaps. Crows, excuse me, pops out that flash, takes the kill to Neth. Gorgeous stuff, and now just buying time for his teammates to set up this double peak. Oh, I love that from X10. And a big mistake by Crazy Raccoons. They saw the camera last round, they heard it when he disengaged it, and they don't check the position even after. Okay, if you're not initially looking there, that's fine. You have a lot of angles to clear as you go forward, but for God's sake, check it when you're already through.
Yeah, that's definitely a slip up that they're gonna live to regret, especially considering that was a round where they basically just still had those SMGs from the previous round. So X10 have managed to get themselves a freebie, but don't worry, Mitch. They've got sheriffs. Crazy Raccoon, sheriffs equals win. That is what we have learned from this match so far. They have not been too successful with the rifles. Patapan, though, he's just taking control. I spoke about some of the setups they have on the defensive side. That wasn't a setup. That was just him going aggressively, finding a pick. Already 2 players up to the good. He's going to go back for more. Finally gets put down, but this is starting to become disrespectful. Zephyr, though, he's earned himself a Blade Storm.
And he has. This round gets very scary now all of a sudden. Speaking of which, Scary's got the Viper wall up. That's blocking a lot of control for Rion. He would have actually seen them crossing, and instead, it's taken down by Sushi Boys. So Zephyr's got it all to do. He's already picked up 2, and so it's the ace clutch that he's going to look for. I don't know how I feel about this one. The timing could have been huge. Sushi Boys looked away for just a moment, but now he's focused back on the angle. It might not matter. Zephyr gets it done. Rotating now into position. All of his utilities still to play with. Full cloud bursts, dash, updraft, everything that he wants. But most importantly, he's refreshed those blades. 5 now back in his pocket and ready to fly at another enemy. Here's the steps coming through mid. The right clicks at this range. They're so dangerous, but they miss. And even the dash can't get him out of dodge. That's so bad, man. It went all around him. It was perfect. The RNG, it's just not there.
It always makes me think of that, like the Ali G clip where it just like sprays all the way around him. Like that's just heartbreaking, because other than that, he did everything right, and that's not even really his fault.
So such a good
just
round.
Unlucky. So,
and I want to see
well
that.
played by Zephyr.
I want to see the right click in slow mo. Look at you could see the knife. It actually cut the eyebrows of Crows, but he's able to get away with it. Disgusting, disgusting. Breach doesn't have a ponytail anymore.
That's actually how I did my hair. Just someone threw knives at me, and well, it went a little bit wrong, but.
It's one of my favorite things in the Ignition series. I think it was the Japanese guys had a thing where they were in the studio and like the blade storm came up on screen and killed the casters. It was sick. Oh, come on.
Okay.
What's this? What's it? He doesn't get the first. Like he's all Patapan's like a distraction play there for Crows to pick up the kill and then just drop shot somebody, which isn't something you'll see every day. So well, maybe with like a blade storm, not with a Vandal.
You will not.
Patapan's flexing at this point. That's what I'm starting to learn, and maybe a little bit too much, trying to deny after the res comes through, but Crows goes down, back into a 4v4 situation. Crazy Raccoon definitely not out of this round. I got another sneaky cam set up. This is something, well, we see a lot over in EMEA from Nats, just popping it early, sitting in the cam for pretty much the majority of the round, and just leaving it in a spot.
You should run.
Can make things a little bit more awkward, although he's gonna have to move eventually. Just waiting for the cross to come in. He's gonna get stuck in that ultimate if he doesn't go anywhere, and eventually the footsteps are gonna be given, and he'll escape. The site will be taken, but they're gonna have a very quick response. In fact, they could get in even before the plant comes down.
Yeah, I think especially with the tripwire on the right side, they know that nobody's going to be incredibly close as they come in, and the camera's still online. This is actually pretty huge for X10. As they come in, they just dominate the duel straight away. Neth is able to pull off one, but immediately afterwards, he is shut down by Sushi Boys. Great round from the Cypher. His utility gave them a lot of information to play off of and freedom to go into the site, knowing the angles that were clear and knowing where the enemies were. 12-5 at this stage. And well, the sprays are doing justice. I mean, look, they are dominating Crazy Raccoons at this point.
This has been an excellent performance all around. Like, good utility usage, team play, retakes have been spot on as well. Like, there really hasn't been much, and there's been so many like little slip-ups coming through from the side of Crazy Raccoon today. I think they're not going to be too happy with how things have gone down, especially like the excuses go out the window now that it's their own map choice. Right? It was back and forth in the first half. I can maybe forgive having a weaker defensive side, especially with how things have gone, but their attack has just looked a little bit flat. He's actually just missed it with the drone. Panapan just looks at it like, well, if you're not going to tag me with it, I'm not going to retreat. They've actually got a stack as well. Again, 3 players ready and waiting over on this A side. Panapan going to pop the ult. They know that they can utilize this one and just dives through and just ruins Munchkin. Comes back for a little more. Patapan is styling a 3K again out of the Blade Storm. There's 2 players left. Make it just 1, Mitch.
That's done. It's done and dusted. Neth, he's been huge before. The Rolling Thunder to just secure it. Fox takes him out, but that's the kind of jet I was looking forward to see from this region. The confidence on display by Patapan in this series has been unbelievable. And you can see he's pretty happy about that win.
Imagine getting defeated on your own map choice, and that's what you have to look at the end of the map. just your opponent stood on a chair, spinning around. Like,
Gives me
was
anxiety.
a fantastic display from them today.
I could just see a world where he falls off that.
Fell off.
It's not nice. The spinny chairs especially, like you're so ready. No, but anyways, they get away with the win. X10, they played so
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Tingles down my spine. They played so well all day. I have to say, I've been impressed with them in their opening game. Didn't expect them to win it, but they put up a much better show. And right here today, they proved that a team that took version 1, who've been looking pretty damn good, they took them the distance. And right here, they couldn't do a thing against X10. Maybe this is a team that can actually contend with the top. And we'll find out pretty soon, won't we? Because they haven't exactly got easy matches moving forward. With this win under their belt, they're just confirming that they're going to be playing up against a top-tier team in the form of Fnatic. That's a pretty big step up.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most impressed with, though, is the fact that we started off today talking about this as like, okay, Patapan's got to come in. He's basically got to wreck him. They're going to be setting him up all of the time. And then we saw some real depth coming out of them just in terms of their overall comps, but also in the fact that they're looking fairly adaptable when it matters. So I don't know. I'm excited for them going forward. I will say that I'm hoping they can give some of the teams further in the tournament a little bit of a run for their money at least.
Yeah, 100%. I have to say, man, overall for me, X10, fantastic team. Patapan, scary. These guys deliver time and time again. When Fox picked up the Jet, still looked pretty amazing. Like the versatility that we've seen from them when it comes down to swapping out agents. Like if you're able to play a Cypher and a Killjoy, that's expected. But if you're able to play a Jet, a Sova, a Raze, and then go down to a Viper, it's like, you're just playing every role at this point. You can do anything. And add in a Sage as well. I mean, gorgeous play all around. I'm excited to see what they can do up against Fnatic.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe now, at least, we are going to be heading this one back off to the desk. GB taking it home. And of course, my bald brother paper thing going to be breaking this one down. That forehead to use. I'm ready for some top tier analysis.
Welcome back to the studio, folks, as X10 will take the series 2-0, knocking out Japan's Crazy Raccoon from Masters 2. And as we take a look at the Prime Gaming post-match highlights, Lothar, what went wrong? What was the situation that was plaguing the Raccoons from being able to take this map?
You know, when I first saw the picks for the agents for the map, I was like, wow, Crazy Raccoons actually adapting. They did exactly what I was expecting them to do. So they changed Munchkin to play Sage on Icebox so they have an easier execute on B. But in general, it felt flat on its face, and I think the reason is that they adapted to the metagame, but they never practiced how they want to play it. I didn't see any changes in the way the players approach the game, because we still see Munchkin going first, like trying to be the duelist for the team when his role suddenly should be different, right? And that's a big problem for Crazy Raccoons when they just couldn't find the pace of how they want to play it. And also, well, there was a bit of dry peeking, you know, into an operator a lot of times, and that's a problem overall that we have seen yesterday. EU also suffered.
Yeah, it's very clear, Potter, that, you know, this team had a lot of control from top to bottom. 7-5 was a pretty good half on Icebox for Crazy Raccoons, but from there, X10 just took control.
Yeah, exactly. And thankfully, they ended up with those 5 rounds, right? Off the back of some thrifties, off the back of X10 maybe having a little bit of minor mistakes, but man, the nerdy setups, the sweaty Cypher trips and the cages, I love these kinds of plays. And I love the fact that the logic, it was absolutely there. X10, they didn't sit around and wait with the information they got. They absolutely pushed the issue, pressed forward, and made it look easy in the end. The triple kills coming through for the Sushi Boys, and even on the attack side, he was utilizing that camera cleverly towards that heaven area inside the Viper orb so that he was feeling a little bit safe. So really thoughtful plays coming out with the Cypher here.
Yeah, it was just clear that everything that X10 was doing was right. Everything that they were hitting, all their shots were hitting, but one player in particular, and I hyped him up on my Twitter, and look, y'all can say I'm crazy all you want, people, but I genuinely believe that we're going to be talking about Patapan for a long, long time. Paperthin, this guy has an insane agent pool. It's ridiculous. And not only that, it's like one thing if you could just play an agent, you know, relatively well or execute. No, he's good in almost every circumstance. That is a rare thing to see in a player.
Yeah, I mean, to start with, he's a young guy. He's 17 years old, and he's an absolute phenomenon already. And you can see here, you know, we talked about the difference between this was going to be him versus Munchkin. Munchkin fell flat, 5 and 15 on that last round. And you could also see that Munchkin's agent pool, not that deep compared to Patapan. Patapan, you can play Sage. He's creative with it. He uses his walls in interesting manners. If you're going to be in the forefront with that Sage, you got to be really effective with those walls, and you got to have a little bit of cover from your teammates. In this case, Crazy Raccoon had no cover for Munchkin at all, and I think Lothar said it really well. It's a lot of dry peaks and other things like that that just are falling apart for them. They had the ideas, the execution was there, but Patapan is insane. His movement with the jet so crucial on Icebox. You have to be really abusive of the verticality of the map, right? When you're that jet, you got to be changing elevations. That makes it so hard to track you as the opponents.
Yeah, and, you know, what's been very impressive about X10, and we were also singing their praises when they were playing against Vikings as well, is that, you know, while the star of the team is clearly Patapan and what he brings to the table, this actually does bring us to our awesome, I believe we're going to have our HyperX clip here, because we had a crazy, crazy play from Foxes that, like, it was caught briefly in the Prime Gaming highlights, that collat that he ended up getting. And let's not forget, too, that there was just a lot of great control that we were starting to see. And I think we have that clip, but if we don't, it's perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, Lothar, I'll just bring you in for this here, because it feels like there are a lot of weapons on this team that can execute if Patapan maybe doesn't perform. And here is your HyperX reflex moment.
I don't think this one, but
yeah, I don't think that's it. No, that's definitely not. Those look like my reflexes.
You're right, there's a lot of.
Those look like my reflexes when I play Phoenix on Ascent. So I think that that was more of a reflecting of how I play the game. If I just use a HyperX Haste mouse, maybe I might perform a little bit better. You know, don't worry about it, though. Lothar, we'll get to the points. There's going to be so much to talk about with these players, and we're going to be seeing them moving on in the bracket. For now, though, let's send it over to Dash, who's over in Iceland, for our Verizon post-match interview with PHASMOPHOBIA.
Thank you so much, Golden Boy. I got a twofer for you here. Got both Patipan and Cruz is going to help us with some translation as well as answer some questions. Let's talk about this one, starting with the change in pressure coming into an elimination match as opposed to the match that you had yesterday. So I'm just kind of curious from a mindset perspective what the difference is when you're stepping on a stage knowing that this is kind of a last chance to keep your tournament lives going.
ก็คือประมาณว่าการที่ครั้งนี้เป็นครั้งสุดท้ายถ้าสมมติว่าเราแพ้มันมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงของความกดดันยังไงบ้าง
ก็ครั้งแรกมันกดดันมากกว่าเรารู้สึกว่ามันเป็นเกมแรกของเราเราก็ค่อนข้างตื่นเต้นแต่วันนี้มันรู้สึกเปลี่ยนไปมันเหมือนว่าเรามีประสบการณ์แล้วแล้วก็ไม่รู้สึกกดดันเท่าเกมแรก
So for the first time we played it was a bit hard because we were nervous we were not used to the stage, but then since this time is the second time, so we were more experienced. So we blended in with the venue and how the temperature, and it felt better. So it wasn't about the game anymore. It was just we're used to the placement.
All right, well, this one I'll ask to you, Cruz. Just curious what the team's reaction was and what was going through your head at the very first pistol round on Haven. A double kill goes over to Sushi Boys from his turret, of all things. Did you guys expect that?
I didn't expect that, but then whichever way we win, I'm happy with that. I'm just glad that we got the round, even though the turret took 2 kills. We got the first round of the game.
From there, let's talk about momentum, because I think something that's very interesting about that Haven match in particular was the ease at which you guys were able to push into the A side. It seemed for quite a bit of time on that attacking side that Crazy Raccoon had no answer. Did you feel like you had just figured them out defensively?
I think we kind of figured them out defensively, and we also had a really good combo when we pushed inside. Like, every corners were covered by our teammates, so it was actually easy, even though they stacked on A with 3 guys, but then all our utilities were used to kill them, so it was good.
This one over to Patty. I'm curious, from that point onward, once you guys move on to defense, you won 5 straight. You'd end up closing it out with a round of judges, of all things, again, putting on a show for the fans. What do you think was the key today as compared to yesterday? Because it was a close one against Vikings, but today it felt so much more dominant.
มันรู้สึกว่าเราไม่กดดันกับตัวเองแล้วครับแล้วก็เราเล่นได้ทุกคนทีมเวิร์กดีกันมากขึ้นแล้วก็หลักๆเลยก็คือสำคัญที่สุดคือความไม่กดดันครับเราไม่ได้กดดันตัวเองเราไม่เครียดทำให้เราเล่นดี
So basically he said that we were not pressured because we knew that yesterday was a really tight game and we had some pressure on us, but then today we just felt at ease, just played our game and just focused on the game, and that's why the performance of all our teammates became better.
From there, Patiman, I want to ask you about your flexibility as a player. I'm referencing not just today, but your previous match against Vikings as well, where we saw you pull out the Sage on Ascent, which was a first time for you on that map specifically. We've got the Viper, we've got the Jet. Do you think that that's a necessary element to the team's success where, you know, we see on other teams players 1 trick, maybe 2 trick at most, and you seem to be able to play it all?
เราคิดว่าเราเป็นใจความสำคัญของตัวทีมเราไหมเพราะว่าเราสามารถเล่นได้หลายตัวและเราไม่ใช่เป็นคนที่เล่นได้แค่ตัวเดียว2ตัวหรือว่าไม่มีอะไรแปลกใหม่ให้กับทีม
ก็หลายตัวเท่ากับหลายแผนนะครับเราเล่นได้หลายตัวเท่ากับว่าเรามีแผนมากขึ้นเรามีวิธีการสู้เยอะขึ้นแล้วก็เดาทางยากครับ
So basically by him being able to play many different agents it adds up on our strat books and we can do many other strats and we could counter strat them without them knowing what we were going to do.
So one final question before I let you two go. This one I'll go to you, Cruz. Your next matchup now is going to be Fnatic in the lower bracket. So the opponents get tougher from here as you look to climb your way all the way back to the finals. How are you feeling about that matchup?
I'm feeling good. To be honest, the whole team is feeling good. I don't mind to play whatever team that comes here. We're just here to win. It doesn't matter.
That's the confidence I like to hear. Well, again, congratulations on a dominant 2-0 victory today to the both of you. Can't wait to see your next matchup. I'm going to let you go. And as we go to break, we're coming back next with Sharks versus Crew.
Welcome back to Masters Tune. We're getting ready for our second game of the day between Brazil's YNG Sharks and LatAm's Crew Esports. Now, this is another lower bracket elimination matchup, so let's just cut right to it, get to the brass tacks. Paper Thin, how do the Sharks avoid being sent home against Crew?
I guess the big thing to take away from that game with Crew versus Fnatic was you're going to have to win your pistol rounds because Crew's pretty good at them, apparently. So I think for the Sharks, that's going to be part of it. You know, they looked great on Haven against Newturn, and then they just got absolutely stomped in the next couple maps. So I'm not sure if that's going to be a ban here or what, but seems to be a map that if they can get it, maybe they'll have a pretty good chance on it. It's just hard to say for sure because both of these teams really got taken to task pretty hard.
Yeah, it's very true. And you see the footage here, Potter. I was going to say the Sharks against Newturn, they dealt with a lot of different looks from them.
They definitely did. And, you know, those stompings on those two maps, it was all down to the Sova Odin meta on that Ascent, right? And I think Sharks, if they had a better idea on how to default a little bit more optimally, they would have been able to bait out those KJ setups, those traps that Newturn had for them. So today, I'm looking for a more solid default, a little bit more calculated in their approach, and they should be able to get some rounds on the board.
Yeah, and the thing is, Sharks actually did show potential on Haven. They played exceptionally well. They executed on the attack with the combinations of the utility to cut off angles and just push everyone aside from it. It was actually perfect. So I hope that we'll see more of it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, their opponents on the other side, Crew Esports, also looking to rebound. And Lothar, you know, back to you here, my friend. They're trying to keep the dream alive for the Latin American region.
Oh yeah, they have a. This is gonna be a tough task ahead of them because, you know, they got crushed by Fnatic. They got absolutely demolished. But the thing is, why was that the way it was? They lacked response to Fnatic. They used the same default setup on defense on Haven for like, I think 12 rounds. Well, 10 because you exclude the pistol round basically. But the thing is, if they want to look better today, they need to basically change it up. They need to swap people of different sides. They need to improvise. They need to be more flexible because last time when they played, they looked like just they were set in stone in their plan even when it wasn't working. Yeah, well, and Paperthin, you joked about it, but Crew, they have a really good pistol round. Honestly, it's probably one of the biggest takeaways from that team is that they perform when it comes to those early rounds.
Yeah, I mean, all their wins were the pistol rounds in the follow-ups against Fnatic. So I don't know what to say other than that. It's really hard to get a read on exactly what Crew can and can't do. The Sharks at least showed us that they could take Newturn to 3 maps, even though the second 2 were not great. I mean, I really am very unsure of what to expect here between these two teams.
Well, you guys already know what the dealio is here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Valorant Esports for the latest news, highlights, and the chance to participate in our daily predictions. And the fans voted Sharks 70% over Crew. Let's go down the line quickly. Potter, what do you have to say about that?
Short and sweet. I'm going with Sharks here as well. I'm on Twitter's side this time, Golden Boy.
Look at you, a woman of the people. What about for you, Paperthin?
I'm going to channel my inner baldness from Tom. Sharks.
Okay, good channeling there. Good channeling there. Someone who's less bald, Lothar, who do you think's winning this one?
My jaw says Sharks.
Okay.
You know, they look so much better.
All right, I like that. Well, everyone agrees. Twitter and the panelists here, Sharks should walk away with the victory. Can Crew fight back? The players are prepping to get into the game. So let's head on over to our 2 newcasters taking the stage. We got DDK and my man Van Silly.
Alrighty, here we go. Thank you so much, Golden Boy. This is going to be quite an interesting game. Van Silly, I'm excited to see regions, of course, that we never normally get the pleasure to cast firsthand. You know, what do you make of this off the bat?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to disagree with Twitter and everybody on the analyst desk because at the same time, yes, Crew didn't look too good against Fnatic, but you're looking in a region where, you know, Brazil, Latin America, it's kind of close. They get to study a lot. They learn a lot from the Vikings play style too. So when you have to play against a region that holds a W, that plays against them, I think that Crew, it might be a more comfortable game for them than it was when they played against the other type of play styles from the other regions.
Yeah, and it does seem to be a really interesting situation, at least from my estimation, just because of, in terms of the meta differences, it seems like there may be somewhat of a lag for Sharks coming into this one, you know, still running the Omen. We might see that. Is that something that they're still going to a more, I would say, dated composition? So we'll have to see how that will fare against, you know, Crew, who has been adopting the Viper and the Astra for the, you know, to be modernized themselves to the current meta. So very curious to see how that whole stylistic clash will pan out here.
Lots of pressure, I find, on DDK at the same time, right? What's most important here is that the winner moves on, but the loser, unfortunately, will end their run for Masters 2. So we talked about the pressure from Crew yesterday, the jitters on land for a lot of these players, but I think the pressure is going to be even heavier for players like Crew right now when they didn't have such a good result versus Fnatic yesterday. But overall, I feel that this is going to be a good series. Again, even though YNG Sharks has like not as of a deep map pool, I still find that they've added a lot of changes. Yes, maybe an Omen is still in the play, but they've changed other players, other compositions that seemed to surprise Newturn even at that time yesterday on Haven.
Yeah, and I have to say as well, you know, in a game like Valorant, it doesn't really matter, I feel like too much if you're behind on the meta, as long as you understand the meta and what people are doing. And if you're able to find answers, you know, for that within the composition that you're using, then sure, you know, you can definitely make things happen. And that's certainly what I'm going to be looking towards on this matchup. The Crew, certainly a team that's been impressing me so far in what they have to show. And I feel like, you know, as we're moving forward, more, you know, forward in the tournament, as you mentioned, this could be the end of the line for one of these two teams. Well, it will be the end of the line for one of these two teams. And a lot of pressure comes with that. And with that, we get to start to see, you know, what are these guys really made of? You know, who's going to be able to perform better under pressure like this? Because that's what it really comes down to when you make it to a tournament of this scale. When you're playing on LAN, and, you know, you don't want the run to end here. You don't want this to be the last time you walk out onto this beautiful stage.
That's right. And even at the same time, I'm actually quite not surprised, actually, that you're seeing Haven being banned from Crew. It was a map that we just mentioned before. Sharks had a very good map versus Newturn on that one. And where we think, you mentioned it, Dan, you have to understand the meta, but you also have to know how to play it at the same time. So for Crew to pull out that Viper, the Sky, and bringing out the Astra and trying to play a little bit like a Fnatic or Liquid style, and always using that single setup that Lothar was mentioning at the desk, it didn't look good at all versus Fnatic. So taking that one out of the way and playing into a more typical map pool that we see here in Brazil and Latin America, this is why I'm not opposed to how Crew are going to play this map series against Sharks. So that's why I still think it's going to be a very close game, a very close series, and it's not over yet. I think we're still underestimating Crew despite the results that they've gotten versus Fnatic.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough team to be up against, especially, again, you know, there's not too much time to really adapt to teams and players that you're unfamiliar with. Because even within a regional matchup which you're unfamiliar with, just knowing some of the player tendencies themselves, that could be an issue, I think. You know, understanding whether this guy's going to go for that extra peak, or, you know, what kind of confidence they'll be carrying in with the methodology in the game is something that can be pretty difficult to just, you know, jump in and play against and have no experience prior to playing against that. And certain players will get advantages, but that can even out as the tournament progresses and as these players get more time and experience playing with each other. And, you know, that's actually one of the things I think that does a lot of favors for Sentinels, actually, is that they have a lot of players that I feel like are really annoying to play against, and it does take some time to adapt to that and to learn the decision making. And
at the same time,
oh, go ahead, man.
Sorry, go ahead, Dan. You know, we're the nice guys at the same time, you know? Yeah. Then we got a Brit and a Canadian just continue to apologize every single time. So we're going to have the most apologetic broadcast ever here that we've seen on the Valorant stage. So it's going to be a very fun one to actually do together. But please go ahead. I think you want to continue your thought.
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun to see how this one's going to pan out. But as we move into the Prime Gaming Agent Select, we'll see if everything that we've been sort of building up is going to be confirmed here in terms of the composition. So yeah, we're going to see that Omen brought out. Definitely an older looking composition coming out of Sharks, as we mentioned, but now we get to see this visualized on the screen in front of us. And, you know, similarly for Crew, you know, we're seeing, I think, what's generally expected from them. You know, we are seeing Mazzino on that Viper, which is going to be all important. And moving into Icebox, it's I feel like Viper has certainly, it just lends so much extra strength. So I'm super curious to see how Sharks are going to try to mitigate that themselves.
This is definitely an interesting one for sure, because when you're looking at that composition for Sharks at the same time, the last time that they played versus Vikings to actually make it into grand finals in the stage, moving on to this one on the master stage, they actually had a Killjoy in there too, so they had a couple of changes going in. But now it's time to start things off. The pistol round here between Sharks and Crew will now, not having and switching things out a bit for Sharks one more time, be that solution needed to stay alive. We'll find out now as the Allen drone comes out towards that B site.
It looks like A pressure will come through here. We'll have to see exactly how this will go for Sharks. Crew looking to hold backside at the moment on these A positions. It can be pretty crucial to just hold on to that backside, just prevent the opposition from getting all of the post-bomb positions. Gives yourself something to work off of on that retake. We can see now Crew starting to make their way forwards. Lige able to take down one. traded though. It's Spike only now just getting planted. Let's get there as well. So it feels like the positioning here is quite nice so far for Crew to make this retake happen. You can see that the positioning for Sharks is somewhat awkward in the corner there. Oh, beautiful paranoia coming through just for the right moment. BNJ, though, trying to do something with that ghost, but it is all too little and too late. 3 players surviving, and there we go.
Exactly how you want to start things off here, Dan, for Sharks. A very strong pistol round, very defaulty, the old school play style that you mentioned before, but understanding how to play it, right? So you have that double duelist getting into the site. Gabish is moving in with the dash on the top of 410, but you stay put behind with Leitch. Leitch waiting for the right moment to throw the paranoia. The wall going in the back of the site from Fra. Now, as Sharks, they hold that W, right? The Brazilian playstyle, you stay inside the A site and you fight back. You're not playing any post plant usually with this type of composition, and which is what we see. The angle has to be perfect. The crossfire setup has to be perfect too for Sharks, and it's been good when you also have frenzy raid bosses going in for Sharks' side.
Yeah, it was such a nice timing from them. Releasing the paranoia. Perfect moment. We'll get a quick tech pause here. And
it's the right moment, I find, you know, because we talked about how positive it was, Dan, for the pistol round results for Crew, and unfortunately their first pistol round that they now play and the one that they lose at is in an elimination matchup. So getting a tech pause, I think, is going to be a good way to calm the jitters a bit, understand that the Sharks, they're still going to play the same play style. They're still going to play very aggressive. How do you adapt to that right now with the composition that you have?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see, and apologies in advance if any mistakes are made on pronunciations of names. This is a particularly challenging one for us, I have to say, but we'll do our best in that account. And chair modifications happening.
I feel that I've spent more time trying to learn the name pronunciations than trying to look at the play styles, at least for Sharks. But I feel like we were getting close to nailing it, but it's still very fun. Also, just to understand now the clashes of the play styles and stuff like that too. And looking at right now what Crew currently has, Dan, with no flashes in that composition either, right? We have a Sova, a Jet, a Sage, a Killjoy, and a Viper. You're going to have to use that Viper to your advantage with the combination of B&J as that Sova, just to try to block out vision when they're going to try to retake these sites, especially if they want to play the retake style versus the aggressive Sharks.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that comes about. Is there anything in particular that you'll be looking out for here, Vansili, in terms of answers on the defense? Do you want to see, Crew focusing more on a retake style of play, especially having Viper and so on, and again, we don't have a Viper in the hands of Sharks, so
correct.
I feel like that toxic screen on the retakes is going to be pretty awesome.
100%. Save that into your kit for Mazzino right now, right? Save that toxic screen. If you're going to be anchoring towards that B side, very typical, the Viper Cloud that you could throw towards that B side just to try to create or deny vision, deny map control on the early rounds of the round, at least for Sharks when they're trying to move forward. But for the retake, the toxic screen, if you throw it out towards the A side, for example, for retakes, for B side for retakes, you could actually allow your teammates to move even closer and really go into the close range battles in the end once the toxic screen goes down, because again, you don't have any flashes, right? So you're just trying to set up, post up your teammates, and when the wall goes down, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I've actually been someone that I think since the very beginning days of Valorant was a huge Viper fan, and just waiting to see her get utilized. And it seems like there's such a with the patches that we've seen and how strong she's become through some of those buffs. Obviously now your hand is kind of forced to use her, but I felt like she was always quite usable. A lot of teams were trying to make it work, but it was quite difficult. So it's cool, at least at this point, because it's a possibility. You never know how the balance changes will happen, but it's a possibility that Viper may receive some nerfs or the agent may change. But what I think is really cool is that because so many people are forced to adopt her, we are seeing a lot more creativity and people kind of understanding how Viper plays at the top level and where she fits in her role in a team and what she's strong at. And I think that's really cool because, again, once she gets nerfed, there will be new things that will have been discovered about her kit through this kind of meta that we're experiencing now, where people are playing her a lot, that will be useful going ahead into the future. You know, much like we saw a resurgence of Sage. Everyone's like, oh, you know, Sage has been nerfed to infinity. She's not useful anymore. But then you see people finding ways to use her. That's super interesting and really effective in current metas. You know, I think Nitro was someone I think that did a lot with that. We saw him bringing out Sage on Ascent and making it look really good.
Yeah, and then now giving it to Ethan, and they've been doing quite well. Unfortunately, not making it right now into the Masters 2 stage. But even looking back at how Viper is so oppressive right now with the new changes, there's also been a recent nerf to her as well, right? Instead of going through anything that has a decay, instead of a 50 decay, it's a 30 decay. And I think the idea behind that is just to allow players not to be too afraid of the toxic screen. So you can still try to swing through it, but only getting a 30 decay, you bring a little bit more confidence as a player trying to bring those surprising battles against your opponent by swinging through those walls. But I think it's still good enough where the post-plant play, the post-plant meta right now for the Viper is still quite effective. I mean, we've watched it throughout the last 2-3 days that the Viper Cloud with the Snakebite combination at the end has been very strong for players that are, or teams that are still using a Viper into their kit.
Definitely, and with that said, it looks like we are back into the action once again. Sharks versus Crew. Here, this is map 1, icebox between these two teams. The loser will be eliminated here from Masters 2, so you don't want to be losing this one. But it's early days, as you'll see Crew get the worst of it, worst end of the stick on the pistol. They don't have too much here. They are going for the save, and we'll see they're making the walk through B long mostly with a 3-player push.
Well, Klaus is going to look for information at least, though. That 3-man push is going to help a lot. You still have one other person watching that flank, though, from the attacker of Donatu, right? So let's see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's looking like Sharks are going to be in such a great position here. They have lots of play. A couple players, in fact. Nice forward kills coming in from Prozen there. Able to make things a little bit easier. Crew, though, still doing damage. They've somehow created a 2 versus 2 retake. There's lots of time for them to make this one work as well, as that spike is only freshly planted. Quick heal there to get Prozen in a better position on this next swing from Rafters. Able to take down one. Now it's down to Nazget in the 1v2. Oh, did he get spotted? I don't think so, but there we go. Prozen will be able to take him down with the Ghost. And pretty good effort there. That was a full safe round coming through from Crew, and they managed to get quite a bit of damage.
Exactly. Just unfortunately there for Nazget can get more kills so that he could prep up the Blade Storms a little bit faster. But I was chuckling a bit because we literally just talked about, hey, we should actually save our toxic screen for the retakes. But at the same time, I do understand that it's a pistol round. You want to throw that wall early inside the B side, a triple push, so that if there's actually any contact, you put that toxic screen up, you try to set up your players on crossfire setup aggressively towards that green side of B. And when they didn't see any contact, when they didn't see any information, they know the coast was clear to go towards that flank for Crew to actually be able to make it a 2 versus 2 with only classics on board. So this helps in the economy. We're trying to play aggressively towards this A site at the beginning, and it pays off as Klaus drops a key player as Gavicius falls.
Yeah, lots of time to work with. At least the spike still able to be collected, and loving the pressure here from Sharks on the A side at the moment. You can see that in terms of the rotations. It's not too certain here for Crew as to what's going on. This holding a 2-1-2 mostly. Ooh, Mazino able to take down Denaro there on B-Long. Still challenging this position is Sharks. Down to 3 players now. Prozen's managed to get really forward positioning, and he surely needs to go with that, but Nazget will take him down, and it's just going from bad to worse here for Sharks as Crew are taking liberties. Mazino, look at this push from him around the side on B long. We'll find the spike and Light as well. Beautiful stuff. Excellent hold from Crew. Kind of felt like Sharks needed to kind of group up after losing a player there. They sort of just got picked off one by one.
Yeah, and even looking at how Crew are playing that defense too, this is where it's going to start getting scary too for Sharks, I find, because when they only have a Paranoia in their setup right now to try to take these sites, I think they might encounter the same issue as if you're trying to play against Sentinels with Shazam, when we're actually going to have an op getting ready towards the A side. He becomes pretty unstoppable because there's no utility that's going to allow him to roam and move freely towards the A side. And on top of that, when they have a Killjoy to be able to stop any type of pushes, then now you're looking at these toxic screens that it's okay to have them move forward as Delzik actually goes for the self boost and catches Leches off guard, drops it, and makes another early 5-on-4 situation. So we talk about aggression from Sharks here, Dan, but it's been Crew all along.
Yeah, such a great forward play, and they're going to be able to fall back. And lots of utility exchange here. The wall was burned. You can see the poison orb is down there as well. And I think at this point, Sharks have made so much noise and investment, it's quite clear exactly what's going on to Crew. And they've got that rotation coming through here to support in the defense of this site. Prozen there pulls out the showstopper, looking for a target, able to find one, does get traded straight away. And so that is still going to leave Crew in a decisive advantage, a great position. With that pick, though, from Denaro, perhaps something can be done here. Gabashi's trying to see what he can do, getting peppered there from distance. This is not looking good right now for Sharks. They try to find a way to get that spike planted, and time is against them as well.
Yeah.
Only 35 seconds, so that rotation feels very long. And they know there's got to be players, or at least somebody, watching out for this rotate.
30 seconds left.
Exactly. It's just going to be very difficult, too. And that person that you're talking about, Dan, is going to be Nagzet right now, already aiming down the side, pretty much on that mid side. The crossover, he's going to waste time no matter what, right? Even if he loses a couple of fights, he doesn't even need to lose it. Gets the last two, and that's an easy lineup right there. Crispy on the shots. We're tied 2-2 at this point, and like you said, Dan, they invested a lot on the attacker side for Sharks on that previous round, just on the amount of utility that was thrown towards that B control to try to take the green side, especially on a player disadvantage. But what I do like from Crew is that they actually get the early man advantage. They don't fight more. They fall back. They play the numbers. They even set up crossfires deep inside the side too. That keeps Parazin guessing with the showstopper as well. So Sharks, they still need a couple of rounds to readjust and understand how Crew plays, but Crew seems to understand how Shark is playing on their side, and they're countering it really well.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and you can see the response here in the following round is just to send it on that A side. However, the Viper's Pit here from Mazino, you can see this is that elevated Viper's Pit. It's very difficult. We'll have to see if Sharks sort of understands what this Viper's Pit means. Maybe they can get some spray through to the likely positions that Mazino's standing in, but at this point it's a 5v3, an advantage here for Crew. They are looking really good on the shots as well so far. Crispy aim, looking very confident out of the gates so far today. And they will be finishing things off one by one.
Yeah, it's not going to look good for Fra, unfortunately, on this 4v1. He does manage to get one at least, but this should be it, right? They know where he is. They're going to try to peek out. The teammates are coming for it, and Nagzet gets a 4K on that. And as you mentioned, the elevated Viper's Pit, there's so many ways of running that Viper's Pit, either on A side or B side. And even on A side, sometimes you have Vipers that actually want to even control the orb. What I like of how Mazino is actually placing it towards the A side is that it actually denies any type of player on the, or any player, sorry, on the attack that tries to get an early control of 410 at the same time. So when you're looking at a double duelist setup with Sharks, trying to go for a dash onto 410 from Gabish's, or Parazin going to try to go for satchel charges and try to create that one way to fight back towards the defender spawn when they're trying to push your opponents back. Well, all of that is fully denied from Mazino. And not only that, he gets upper hand advantage, verticality versus the players pushing down towards orb. So that's a very strong position of playing that right now. And Crew, they're just looking to react now on the play of Sharks. They're waiting for the late wall if they come in contact onto tube. And at Sharks, they're still staying stuck in spawn. They're still trying to figure out where these players are playing from Crew, and they just still don't have an answer yet.
We will be seeing Sharks making their way towards that B-side attack. And this presence is felt, and just look at the control coming through from Crew. Carl's able to pick off one. Gabshis will die before they can even really get ground onto the site. So once again, despite the res coming through, you can see that Viper wall. We talked about this, how potent that toxic screen can be in the retake, but also to prevent the opposition from being able to get to a position to plant the spike. Ice will go up to try to provide some cover. Thrash at all 1 HP, able to get the spike down and somehow survive. This is quite labored.
Such a big flank.
And what can Nazget find? I mean, Denaro is looking for this. It's all about the timing here for Nazget. Oh, able to find one, thanks to the reveal from the recon, and the trades start to come through now, but that bomb is ticking away. The pressure is on the defenders here. Crew need to find their way onto this frag, and they're going to get it. Mazino is just unstoppable so far today. Excellent shooting from him. and that's going to be Klaus with that defuse. And another
That
round
was
in the
so
bag
clean.
for Crew.
Just so clean on that retake at the same time, and just miscommunication I find that at the same time for Sharks, because yes, Donato, that's the second time that as a Silva player he's continuing to watch that flank, and they have to have those bodies to watch flanks because they don't have a sentinel on top of that on these pulse plants, right? So they need a little bit more communication because he's watching it but in a different angle that exposes his teammates that aren't watching their back because they're focused on preventing the push and the retake coming back from Crew from the defender side. So just a little bit of a mishap that just makes the whole pulse plant positioning for Sharks just crumble all around. So I see this pause coming in on top. I think it's a great call right now if this is going to be a pause, a timeout that's needed for Sharks just to try to recuperate, and what can they do now that they have a Blade Storm ready? They could go for this forced buy still and try to figure out. I even think that Gabishus could buy a weapon for Prazine instead so that Prazine doesn't have to get stuck on a Spectre. But overall, man, Crew has been looking really strong on this defense.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying what they're bringing to the table so far. They aren't timid at all. I'm loving the aggression around the B-long position as we go into this tech pause. We can talk a little bit more about what we've been seeing so far in this matchup. Crew certainly looking really formidable, and they're looking comfortable as well. And as I was mentioning, just enjoying that B-long aggression. That has caused issues for Sharks. And then equally, when Sharks have tried to go more towards a committed play on that A side, they're kind of struggling in getting backside control. They don't seem to be able to push the defenders out entirely, and that's problematic. And I think we are seeing some of the differences in composition and where the strengths are in having that Viper on Messino, who he is just hitting phenomenally well so far as well, so that's always helpful. But the Viper does feel like it's making a big difference right now.
Oh, definitely. And even when I look at it, I think you're going to have to ask a lot from Donato at this point because we've seen so many looks of Crew's defense so far, even just from the way that it plays utility from Viper, right? If it's not an aggressive wall here towards this B side, it's also going to be a wall to prevent a push from yellow. If not, it's also a wall that can help a retake from spawn side into yellow. And you're kind of keeping Sharks guessing. There's no conditioning that Sharks can really do against Crew right now. And so that's why I think Asoba is very important with Donato. He has to start scouting out a little bit more, trying to figure out where the positions are, and then starting to understand where this wall comes up. How can they play this? Is it going to be a passive playstyle, or is it going to be another one of those rounds where Crew just decides to push towards A side, get a couple of kills, fall back on numbers? We've seen, like, what, 4 or 5 different setups, 4 or 5 different variations of Crew's defense, and there's just so many rounds, or not that many rounds left on that first half, that Sharks have to readjust a little bit faster, but the pressure is on. Those rounds are ticking down.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if Sharks will find more comfort on the defense. You know, time will tell, of course. But it would be cool to see some slower rounds coming through from Sharks, perhaps going more for like some more mid-aggression. We haven't really seen that too much from them as of yet. But, you know, Crew have been playing, you know, heavier towards some of the extremities in some cases. And so, you know, when that is the case, when the defenders are more committed towards an extremity, for you in the early rounds, in the early timing, within the rounds, there is an opportunity as the attacker to take the space on the map that the defenders are, where they are weak, which would be middle in that case. So
you're right.
It'll be interesting to see if there's any play there from Sharks' playbook around that position on the map, as Crew haven't been doing too much there themselves.
You're absolutely right. I think, sorry, Dan, I think when you're looking at it at the same time, too, where they're trying to hit towards the A side, trying to work the extremities, they've only found Klaus's utility towards that A side defense. They haven't seen anything towards mid yet. And what we know as the observers, third person, the fans watching this game, is that Delzeek's the one that's going to play the stage inside the tube. Again, reactionary on that wall. And what I like about the reactionary on the wall for Crew is that if they don't place it right away, it could be a very strong wall for the retakes also towards that site. So I think as we're trying to waste out utility for Sharks that they've been doing very well over that B side, I think they could try to rotate a little bit more towards the mid, waste out the utility on mid side, and then reset kill noise, and then they could maybe attack where Crew will have less utility, and then the aggressiveness, the whole W from Sharks playstyle could maybe shine a little bit more.
Yeah, that's I love that point, and you know, if for example, you're able to really convince Crew to use that toxic screen in a spot where it's not going to be helpful later on in the rounds, perhaps because you're sort of trying to run some fakes in Sharks' position. That could be pretty cool as well. And I think for them to effectively make maneuvers like that, it probably does start with winning B long. And because with winning B long, it feels like it's going to be a committed push, but you still have a lot of options as the attackers to kind of safely fall back and rotate out. So long as you don't get completely crunched through the middle, then you'll be good to do that. So that could be one of the ways that they could accomplish that. So with that said, Crew, again, they've been pretty good around that B long position. I enjoyed seeing how they utilize Sage to drop the wall there and just make things really oppressive for Sharks as they try to take control there and put them in a position where for Sharks to then take B control, they almost had to overcommit their own utility to do so. So great stuff from Crew to kind of put them in that position, because I think Crew, they're doing a good job in preventing the Sharks from really playing how they want to, and that's always your job in a competition is making sure that you can force your opponents into positions where they're uncomfortable.
Exactly. You don't have to play the guessing game. The tables have turned pretty much. When they played against Fnatic, yes, they won Pistol. They won the converting round on the anti-eco. But anything after that was just seeing how Crew was getting punished just every single time by Durka, especially on Haven, pushing down towards that site. So as we talk about them trying to evolve a bit towards that meta and realizing that they need a little bit more than just not learning the compositions, but to elaborate a little bit that play style and to have more variations on that defense, at least a term of variations on defense, is definitely shining on this matchup, or in this matchup currently versus Sharks. And like I said before, it's a play style that they're used to right now because of the regions that they're in, that they're fairly close between Brazil and Latin America, and that play style is fairly familiar when you're looking at, for example, game leaders, right, with NWZero coining the play style of shooting, the way that they're playing aggressively on the Brazil side. It seems that even in Latin America, you are trying to coin that a little bit more too. So when you have Crew that studies so many tapes from the European side and understands now, okay, Viper could be very good, Astra could be very oppressive, hey, let's try to bring in a Sky to stop how we're pushing so aggressively on this double duelist setup and this holding W playstyle, then that's where it starts coming together a little bit easier for Crew right now, because they're just used to also the typical playstyle of Sharks. Would it work right now versus Fnatic? Probably not, because that's the results that we saw. Would it work versus Sentinels right now? They didn't have a chance to play them yet. They didn't have a chance to really taste what North America is like as well on LAN. So just this is familiar territory for them, which is why you see a little bit more comfort in that playstyle of how they want to push a little bit more aggressively as well. And it's paying off in dividends.
Yeah, love to see that. I'm always a fan of an aggressive playstyle. Be quite an aggressive player myself, coming from the world of Quake. But we were swapping a PC
and Raze non-stop, right? You keep playing Raze right now in your ranked games, just trying to push satchel charge kills.
Double satchel in your face, an operator. You know it. But yeah, we were just swapping out a PC. It should be good to go in a moment here. And back into the action shortly as we get the settings all loaded up on that new PC, and away we'll go. But yeah, I think it is really interesting to see the Brazilian teams, because they are, at least in the Counter-Strike world, synonymous with this is like aggression. That you were expecting them to be extremely aggressive to a fault, and happily so, knowingly to a fault. It's almost like we'll compromise everything so that we can make sure that we can have this really oppressive, fast-paced, aggressive playstyle and really make that work. And it's pretty amazing in a sense that once in that scene, at least in Counter-Strike, we got to saw some amazing talent coming up through that. It wouldn't necessarily produce, let's say, like world-beating teams, but when you're taking off all of the limitations just so you can play very aggressively, you really get to discover new things, which other teams and players might not ever get to discover about themselves, in terms of the kinds of plays you can make and the peaks you can actually make work. At this level, some of the rules, the kind of conventional rules in the fundamentals of the game, kind of go out of the window a little bit, because when you're playing at the pro level, everyone's extremely talented, and with a slight edge, one player can really take a lot out of it. And you've got to listen to your instincts. You got to make sure that you're in a position to do that, because I think one issue that players experience when they play at this level is they want to play correct, but there's almost this irony to that can also put you in a position where you're going to be limiting your kind of intuition and the kind of and the maneuvers that you want to make by instinct, where there's a little voice telling you, you've got to go and do this. But the pressure comes through and you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to lose this match. There's a lot on the line. I just want to play correct. I don't want to take the risks. But if you're too risk averse, you're not going to really understand what you're capable of. And that was, again, like going back to the Brazilians, something that always really impressed me is that they are so fiery. They're so good at dealing with pressure. They're so good at bending the game to their will. And I think that's one of the things I always enjoyed the most about watching them, and especially watching them on LAN.
Yep. This is why I want to see a player like Gabish just right now, currently playing the Jet for Sharks, just to unleash the power as well and play how he's meant to play. Because when we watched him yesterday versus Newturn, he was even bringing out a Sage at some point, I think on Haven, when they won that 13-5 against Newturn, and he was unstoppable as that Sage. So imagine the power that he could bring in playing as a Jet at the same time if you've been following towards that Brazilian region. I think this is going to be something that could definitely help Sharks at the same time, to the style of where we just witnessed Patty Pan, for example, just flying long hair, don't care, and just going around the site as that Jet and just opening it up with the daggers, also with the operator too. We haven't seen so far the economy work in the favor yet of Sharks, where they could actually bring out the operator potentially on the attack, because you look at a lot of these maps so far here, Dan, where opping is not that common these days on the attacker side, but I do find definitely that a map like Icebox could definitely work.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And we're back into the action once again. We get the drone coming through from Denaro towards A. Again, we mentioned that, you know, A has been, I mean, pretty much everything's been difficult for Sharks. Usually, so far, Crew have been able to hold on to this backside control, which is a huge win if you are the defenders looking to coordinate a retake. So we'll see if Sharks can do anything different here to have some success on this A site.
Well, they know that there's an operator right now towards the A side, but the thing is, Leitch is a little bit too far back if they want to try to push out with a Paranoia, for example. But this recon dart is perfect to create that space. And like we said, Gabish is now with the knives on the top of 410. They should be able to take this map control. Oof.
Oh, Klaus is just going to swing through. Fantastic shot coming through from Nasket as well. And Nasket might be able to find some more here. I love the shorty sidearm. Not too much here for Sharks to do. 2 versus 4. Spike will be planted. Light actually just trying to bait out a player. And B&J will take down Prozen in the meantime. So looking pretty impossible indeed.
Wow.
Sharks will go down. And again, they're just unable to get control, like full control of the site.
Yeah. It looked like it was, though, Dan, because, like I said, they had control of 410, yet Prazin already close towards that screen. The smoke was already coming out, but that's the issue again. Now when you're looking, okay, we're playing an Omen instead, how can we run and actually cover and prevent any type of visibility or angles being held by the defender side? Let's throw some dark covers. What happens then within the dark cover? Because it's so huge within that space, you could play inside it. You could also be not afraid of it, just like Crew aren't, and the way that they've been swinging through. Klaus coming out just to get the 2 duelists down has been huge into the 2 kills that helped Crew to win that round. So yes, despite you threw the recon dart to come out, I think we were missing a couple of paint shells if I didn't see it at the right spot, but I think they had to find something else at this point. Everything I've been trying here for Sharks just hasn't been working, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's also quite difficult too, because, you know, we haven't really been seeing defaulting from Sharks. They haven't really set too much in the way of expectation towards Crew or condition them all that much. And once you're this far into your half as well, you know, it gets kind of difficult, because you've kind of lost the the time needed to kind of do that. So in that sense, you know, they could go to a default style right now, but I think Crew are very comfortable just playing just on the sides and just playing generally quite passive. That's a dangerous place for Sharks to be in, because it means that it means that Sharks are playing against opposition that are just super comfortable not having info. And the reason is because Crew have just been sitting on the sides and just reacting and defending really well. There hasn't really been the need for Crew to take risks to get information. And in the perfect world, in a top level match, what you're looking to see is you're looking to put the defenders in a position where they're always scared, because they're like, we don't have enough information, we need more information. And right now, Crew is not scared. They are pretty content with where they're at.
Exactly, which is why Klaus is swinging out like that and getting 2Ks, right? So at the same time, as much as you're thinking that you're getting map control, you're still playing into Crew's game. The timing that they've gotten from Klaus to swing out to get those 2 kills was probably a surprise from Sharks because we haven't seen that yet on these type of plays where they think they have the site, but no, they don't. If not, it's just going to be very aggressive at the beginning where you could maybe expect it because you're basically pushing from spawn side and you're holding from spawn side. You can expect the pushes, coming in from the defender side. This time it doesn't. We have an aggressive Hunter's Fury, a big recon dart that's pinged so many players right now. It's just going to be Sharks, unfortunately, 1 player behind, 1 player also at half HP in Lich, and they're just trying to get this plant down towards the A side, but there's so much utility from Killjoy that's going to deny this right now.
Yeah, looking to do the damage that they can on this save round. Beanbot sent forward, nice shock dart coming through as well, making life a little bit more challenging here for Sharks. Looking to get that spike planted. It might not happen at this point. There's not too much left in the way of players here for Sharks to really have any breathing room to get this spike planted. But Crew, they may actually force Sharks to plant because that gives them the information as to where 1 player is, allows them to creep forward. Res coming through from Crew actually. Just 1 more player left. Denaro on the site will be dealt with. So, couple kills. It's something, at least. And I have to say, kills have been hard to come by from Sharks, generally speaking.
Yep.
So far in this game.
Definitely, and I think it's not to the detriment of Sharks' skill right now. It's just the positioning has been very good, right, for how Crew has been setting up. Because you saw that operator, he didn't really want to commit going out towards that window when he knows that Donato is right there by the ropes, trying to get a default plant, trying to go for a fake plant. And they're swinging, they're jiggling, they're peeking at the same time. While he's doing that, another attacker is coming in from the left side at screens, just trying to get that angle, which is why I kind of see where Fra wanted to pull out the res. They wanted to bait it out and force the operator to come out at the same time, but Crew, they just didn't bite the bait. It was just easier, and you know what? When you're playing a bait versus the Sharks and it's not working, there's something that shows the confidence from Crew's side.
I like the delay here from Crew as well on this B side. We can see that Sharks have set their sights to attack B, and we've got that Viper wall ready to go, the Killjoy utility as well. And this is just going to slow things down. Wow, okay. Oh, God, Crew have just annihilated Sharks. I don't even know what happened there. But now there's just Brazen left. And he's stuck, and that's going to be good for the Prime Gaming Flawless for Crew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, they had the toxic screen up on the defender side, and I don't know if you've noticed the little X's on that minimap when they died. Everybody pretty much lined up very close to the wall where they hoped that they weren't going to get wallbang. Look at this, right where it was. So actually, they spotted the enemies before the wall even came up. So now you have 2 players now spamming from site, 1 from Snowman, and it's just a shooting gallery pretty much, where unfortunately for Sharks, they're not, nothing is working in their end. I'm repeating myself at this point too, but it's just like you want to have some sort of hope right now for Sharks, but any type of like light at the end of the tunnel gets immediately shut down here by Crew. It's just darkness all the time.
Yeah, and Sharks will try to eliminate things with this A push. Keeping it quite simple and straightforward. They're just going for 4 pushes to one bomb side or the other. Gavashi's able to take down that turret and trying to hold on to some of these forward positions. Crew happy to fight though. Drone coming through as well. They saw that backside control. We talked about how important that is, and the Hunter's Fury will come through to deny the lockdown. Denaro able to do some good damage there. Proslan able to finish off 1 with that showstopper, but this is looking very difficult right now once again for Sharks. Spike is not down, and we've got Crew just marching through the site on the retake, and they're only down a single player at this point. Man, the confidence here from Crew is something to behold as they go 8-2 on this defensive side.
And I didn't even mind putting the Viper Spit down too, just to have like a triple peek in the end, so not even playing really in the screen. And it looked very disruptive. It looked like you wanted to put all your eggs into one basket to hopefully get something done, because you've invested in a Hunter's Fury and a Showstopper. The space was created at least on the right side of the site. But where was that smoke? There was no smoke there towards screen. An easy kill coming through. And even on top of that, even if it was smoked on screens from Lich, there was a recon dart that came out from B&J from Crew that even pinged out Fra trying to go for a plant. So we talked about how good the recon darts, how Silva could be on these retakes, and Crew, just takes the upper hand one more time. So you're seeing now Marshall's coming out, a half buy coming in right now. I see a Bulldog, because I think you're buying pretty much so you can have enough into the last round, and they just have to try to scrape something right now. It's just they're not finding any gold in what they're digging.
All right, that's one good catch from Prozin.
Little nugget
out of the picture, and with that, that's a lot of pressure, because you can see that Crew are playing pretty aggressively towards B and mid at the beginning. They have this ice wall up, and also they have the toxic screen that's very forward on B long. So this is the perfect response, Vansili, from Sharks.
Yep. And that's how you reply. Unfortunately, a dry peak to come through, and at the same time, you saw a little bit of a lurk, right? I think for Prazin, he was looking to create that space, but look at everybody else from Sharks. They were looking to creep slowly towards this B side, first rotation out, and end up towards the B side. But they know this for Crew. Mazzino is just playing all the way back towards Snowman, where they were able to open that gallery range before, the shooting range up towards the long side. But with this Marshall, can they open it up here with Gabishes?
Yeah, you really want to see some impact from this Marshall. The dark covers are going down, though, to cover opportunities to get that spy planted. There might be opportunities here as well for Crew players to sneak through, but in fact, Sharks going very aggressive indeed, but it's going to be Delzik to pick up a double. And that's going to make life quite difficult. The spike, oh, is there going to be enough time here? That's it, going forward. He will get the denial on the plant of the spike, and that's going to be good for the round victory. Like, only man standing, but
Last round in
another round to Crew.
That's it. Yep. One more to go. I mean, you are so close to almost getting around. And I did like what I saw, though, from Sharks, right? They tried to do things a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more of a surprise play, pushing through the dark cover from Lich so they could get towards that spawn. And that's where I think having a Viper instead would have been so good, because we're seeing this a little bit more at the same time, where you're throwing a toxic screen from green all the way across to the B site and all the way across the spawn at the same time. So denying that vision, pushing through that instead, and then using maybe if you have a Sky in there for flashes, allows you to get the control towards that B site and play a much stronger post plan, just as we saw actually in the last series between Crazy Raccoon and X10. That said, though, last round of the half, we're just going to try to go aggressively, hold W towards this B site, the recon dart towards the back of the site, Klaus going for an Odin Vandal in the back of the spawn, but it's still going to be Sharks getting the first blood.
Claus is in a great position. Oh, the lineup there. Only good for the one. D&J from up high there. Looking to make his way through kitchen. And there's not a lot in the way of ults here for either side at this point. Well, Gavshi's with the blaze if required. And shock darts coming through, taking down Frazan. And B&J's been great with those shock darts so far. Getting this, I swear, getting the spike down in this matchup for Sharks has been very difficult, very traumatic. Asino just charging through there, spraying wildly. And it looks like Sharks might be good for this one here. They take advantage on the player numbers. 3, well, now 2 versus 2 as Nazget pushes forwards.
It's not really planning for them either.
Caught by the paranoia. The pressure comes through, though. There is the defuse, is actually sticking it towards halfway. There goes the cloud burst. Oh, there's nobody peeking or spamming this. In fact, Crew are going to steal it away.
Oh, no.
Lice does not get the challenge in time, and that's a 10-2 first half in favor of Crew. Oh, it just seems like Sharks had so much trouble getting a spike planted, having to come off of it so much.
You just have to thank B&J actually on that last round for Crew, because getting that recon dart out to actually ping out the spike carrier and then going for the shock dart kill onto Fra, now you're denying time, you're running down that clock, and now you're making the attackers a little bit more nervous of where they should plant. Like, that shock dart kill was perfect. Now you pick up the spike, it's like, well, by then, the defenders might have rotated. I cannot plant out in the open anymore for a post plant. So he goes for a safe plant, at least to secure that, and a post plant in favor of Sharks. But when it's not planted for you, and the way that you're retaking at the same time, you only have a Sheriff on top of that on a 2 versus 1. Very hard to do. So you're hoping to change things around now on the defender side for Sharks. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, Sharks looking to go aggressive here with Gavshis. We'll see. What do you see what it actually do? Gets quite deep in this position. Finds Mazzino. That's a nice early open for Sharks. But the push towards the A site is where the real action is. You see that Frazan has really delayed things with that ice wall and really caused pause for thought for Crew as they look to rotate back with the spike. A 4v5 situation here for Crew. It's not fun, but at least on the attack, it's, you know, you can choose where you pile in those numbers. And you can see that on B, Sharks are playing retake. In fact, they're playing retake really everywhere.
Very passively. Yeah. You even have B&J all the way back towards that spawn side, so you can look up towards if anybody's going up on the tube side, because you still have the Jet alive here, right? For Gabishis at the same, for Nat Zet at the same time. So and sorry, it was Donaru towards that spawn side. So very passive. They looked and play that retake, and they're just giving up the site.
30 seconds.
Nice with some good damage there at a distance. We'll get the wall up for the safe plant. The pick comes through as well. 4 versus 4. Crew looking to hold on to these 4 positions. B&J, really great spot to be in. Lots of angles to worry about, but you can see looks like it's going to be Frazan who will fall to him. Delzik with a nice one with the classic as well. That's going to be a 2v2 now as it falls onto B&J. Is he able to make this one work? They're able to get the defuse started. Now the pressure is on for B&J. Has to swing around the corner. Has to go all the way here. The stick is coming, and the stick is good.
That was so nice. You got to thank the stars there for that wall that came up at least towards the end so that they could actually get that defuse. It's a nice valiant attempt on that pulse plan for B&J to try to win that one. Yes, the round comes in for Sharks. It was a much-needed pistol, but you've lost every single one of your players. And I think because you have so much of a cushion and you're so comfortable right now on how the results have been here for Crew, I wouldn't be surprised if you actually have a force buy going into the second round right now. You could definitely force up the Spectres. The Stingers, even though you think that the Stingers might not be as good, it's still damn good right now in this meta, in this patch. And you see it. Spectres all across the board, full shields, small shields on the attack. So even though here, Sharks, they won that round, they're still going to be in a tough spot.
Definitely, and you can see that there's early information there for Sharks. And you can see also that Scavishis actually wanted to try to punish based off of that, but maybe going a little bit too deep. Gets caught out, and that's going to be a pretty decisive advantage coming in now for the likes of Crew. You can see right now, Crew are really trying to punish the lack of information here for Sharks. Sharks don't quite know where this attack is coming. The last information they had was towards A, but Crew have cut noise entirely.
Yeah. At this point, I think even at the same time for Sharks, stacking up more towards one extremity seems to make sense because, again, no Sentinels. The only way you can get information is from a Sova. You're trying to recharge the recon dart just to try to get the information. Now they're gambling towards the A side, and that's where the hit is coming.
And they're able to defend 1-for-1 at least. Looking quite good here for Sharks so far. Naro from up above there with the shock darts could do a lot of damage with this one. Ooh. 2v3 for Crew. Light will make his way around 410. Has to be careful though, Light is somewhat isolated from his teammates. Oh, Frazan able to get it going there on the flank. And a 1-for-1 ensues there, leaving Mazino in a 1 versus 2. Donaro with that high ground advantage, able to take it down. And Sharks, they pick up a defensive round. Really nicely done, especially given that they lost Gabishis very early on in the rounds.
Yeah. I also like the play here from Sharks too. They had a flank coming in later on as well. So not having that sentinel and trying to get a little bit more information. How do you want to play this right now? Rotating players, but at the same time, you want to try to go for these sometimes aggressive pushes just to try to get information, especially when you're a man behind. It's some of the basic things that you want to look at when you're playing a tactical FPS is if you don't have a way to find information, you're pretty much at a one-man deficit or maybe two-player deficit. You kind of want to force the hand a little bit so you can guess a little bit better and stack up your numbers on the opposite end where the hit should be coming. And it worked fairly well here once Crew made it back out here towards that A site. And with that, the force buy that came from Crew on that previous round, even with Spike Plan, it's not enough for them to go back into a situation where they could hurt the economy here from Sharks, and they're going to have to go with Sheriffs.
Yeah, B&J falling on belts already. And Gavashis wants to get in on the action, finds a nice little timing, catches one. That's Nagzet's done. There's 3 Sheriffs to go. There we go. The Sheriffs are scary, but looks like the danger is almost gone. Just as I say that, of course, Klaus able to take down Gavashis. You can see that Gavashis really wants to get in on the action.
Yep. Well, we've mentioned it before, right? Like, unleash it, try to gain that confidence, especially against an anti-eco. Just pushing forward and being able to end those shots is definitely going to help them build that back and potentially help Sharks move back into the second half of this portion of the map.
Getting closer now. Really looking for that damage.
30 seconds left.
Would be really great for Crew if they could find at least one more kill, but looking unlikely here. Ooh, as you know, not the best timing on that one. Will get taken down by Razan. And there we are, Sharks. Could very well be stringing some momentum together here now as they are going to winning ways still in the last couple rounds. But the question here for me, Van Silly, is what are they going to do with their buy? Because are they going to carry forward, some Spectres? Are they going to just rebuy everything into rifles? I mean, this is a very long-range map, so...
Yeah. I think right now, keeping the Spectres and having Gabish's even going with the Operator into this round, I think this is actually a good call for Sharks at the same time, because now you could have an anchor player towards A side or B. Looks like Gabish's is playing towards B side instead, about to come head-to-head. Oh, I like it. That's what we talked about before. The Allen drone to try to create a diversion or even try to push your opponents back, and that actually stresses out Gabish's as he gets spotted, and Nagzet is able to swing out with the Vandal. So, I like I said, the call was good, but at the same time, that's how you deny it.
Yeah, for sure. There's a reason why that drone on Belong is so powerful, just as you described, and that's a huge loss. Gavish is with that Operator will actually be collected, as we just saw, by Frizan. So we'll see if... Oh, no. Frizan also going down. Crew are really having their way with Sharks at this point, taking down pretty much everybody in these forward positions. And they have cut a clear path towards the spike plant here on this B site.
Spike planted.
And... at this point, Sharks might just want to try to save what they have. I mean, they do have Gavish who's able to get the Blazestorm out in the next round.
Exactly.
So possibly Gavish could drop somebody and they would be able to get a decent enough buy. But it is certainly a desperate scenario for Sharks.
Mm-hmm. This is exactly why, Dan, I was saying that the call was actually a good one here for Sharks to actually invest into that Operator and save the Spectres into like their bonus round into this round, round number 16, just for the sheer fact that if Gabish's does die and they are able to save a couple of weapons, they could still have the Bladestorm into the next. And a Bladestorm, it could definitely be considered like a regular rifle right now, especially when it's wielded by a player like Gabish's. He could definitely turn it around here back for Sharks' favor if he gets good positioning right now on how aggressive he could be on this defender side now with the Bladestorm out. So we'll see what the economy is going to be like very soon here for Sharks, but with those two weapons that are saved, if you're new here to Valorant, moving into the next round, the ones that are able to stay alive, you only get 1,000 credits. So you don't get the full bonus of that everybody else would get, which is right now should be at 1,900 if I'm not mistaken, because you won 3 rounds in a row, you lost them right now as you see on the scoreboard. So they don't have that much money, but still good enough to buy for their opponent, or for their teammates rather, where now you're really at the bottom of the barrel in terms of what you have in money left behind.
Looks like a missed lineup there, Van Silly. Don't know if you call that ISOLV just whiffing, but unfortunate. Unfortunately, never want to see that. But we have more presence towards the safe site this round, so looking to see what Sharks are going to be able to do to hold this, or whether they'll actually try to give it up and play retake. They have 2 players quite deep on B long at the same time, so
yeah.
The issue with this for Sharks is that Crew can just do what they're doing here, which is pressure A pretty heavily, cut noise, and try to bait rotation and punish it. And they're actually giving up the flanks now, our Crew, as they want to actually commit onto the A site finally.
Yeah, because you had a turret to watch flank and Mazzino towards that spawn side. What on defense you have right now is Prazine. He's gonna. I love this combo, the slow orb with the pain shells, just to try to slow things down a little bit more for your teammates to rotate over. But the map and the A site is currently taken control by Crew.
Yeah, able to find that forward ground using the ice wall to get that plant down safely. There is a hole that we can see. Sharks trying to exploit it, trying to dive in there, trying to get. Will make it so that that spike does not get planted, but they will not be able to make that happen. And they gave up a lot for that attempt. They lost a couple players, I think, trying to dive on top of that spike. So now they're in a 2v5 retake. That's certainly quite difficult, especially on this site, especially with the plant being somewhat open. And you can see once again back to a save. And Gabish's actually still has the Bladestorm available.
Bladestorm, yeah. Yeah, so he could definitely drop this Vandal out for a teammate, go with the Bladestorm, and still you might have something working for Sharks. And I saw a little bit of frustration going on at the same time for Gabish's. You saw him, he's just pre-firing shots. Okay, they're trying to hunt him down. I'm okay with that at the same time too for Crew. And as they move up towards Tube, unfortunately now, another fall. That's going to be Leitch. And that's even going to be even worse now for Sharks at map point. And the economy should be fairly low. But to get back here, Dan, about that frustration from Gabish's, he was just going for those pop shots into the A site saying, hey, come at me. Like, I need to bring this confidence back into the second map. I don't mind going for aim battles here towards the A side and try to see if I could just pop your head if you're going to try to peek out towards pipes. But what I do like from Crew, hey, they're strolling right now. They're gliding away, and they're strolling into the victory of the first map, and they don't want to overcommit. They just want to play their own game plan, their own style, and their what they prepared for this matchup, and they're playing it perfectly. Their game plan.
Yeah, definitely. It does seem like Crew are a level above at the moment for sure, and Sharks are such an interesting position here, given that, as you mentioned, it's just not the best situation in the world to buy. I'm actually surprised we didn't see the Bladestorm a little bit earlier, but we'll see if they're able to do a better job here on this defense. It does seem like Gabish's has really struggled to get the openings that he's been looking for. Whether it be on B long or elsewhere when the operator is in hand. And I feel like I like Crew's approach. We saw a more conventional approach from them in that previous round where they create some presence across the map and then they start pressuring the A side of the map much more heavily and they kind of cut noise for a little bit and just see what their opponents will throw at them utility-wise, maybe see if they can punish rotations before finally, making the full push a little bit later on. I think that approach is quite good. It gives you options. And it creates a sense of desperation for the defenders as well, because they don't know what's going on.
And this round, Dan, here, it looks like Sharks are looking to play a position where they could maybe move a little bit more aggressively, gain that early map control on that B side, and potentially rotate out Gabish's on A after. Usually I see like an Omen trying to anchor out on his own towards B, but it's actually going to be Gabish's that's going to try to push forward first. With that, though, a default being held by Crew, expecting some sort of aggression coming out from mid side, from A side, and it was so close. You saw Donato inching over and decides to fall back, and he's able to just survive for a bit and really keep it on the 5 versus 5. But the Owl drone comes in towards the A side. They have a Hunter's Fury too. This could definitely help out to open the A site.
Yeah, this slower pace from Crew is actually helping them out quite a lot, because we saw that, as you mentioned, that early play from Donato in mid and some investment of utility. And Aldron's going out in the mid round now in mid from Donato to try to find out what exactly Crew are doing. Oh, the timing on the toxic screen couldn't have been better, but doesn't matter. Gabish's is there to punish, and Mazino goes down. And there's 40 seconds to go to get the spike planted, and at this point, Crew are starting to feel perhaps some desperation. They need to get all of the bodies on a site. It looks like B is going to be that site.
And because they have a res too, I was going to say it could be stressful at the same time too, because they drop Mazino, which means they don't have a toxic screen to go back towards B. But forcing that res and just booking it back towards the A side, it could keep Sharks guessing, but they still have 2 players inside the site with great angles so far.
And here we are, we're going to get Mazino just charging forwards. There's the Viper's Pit from up high, gets taken down immediately. Hunter's Fury gets sent through the side as well. Spike is coming down, the lockdown sent out by Klaus as well. And time is of the essence here to get that plant. Just enough time for the NJ though. Gabish's all on Gabish's. Out comes the blades! Right click is not good. It's going to be locked in by Crew. PNJ with the final frag onto Gabish's. Crew looked fantastic from start to finish in this one. It is just map 1, but from what I've seen here so far, Vansili, I am really enjoying how confident and how beautiful and methodical the gameplay is from Crew at this point.
This, Dan, is definitely night and day from their matchup against Fnatic. We've seen the level of comfort, the aggressiveness that they come out on the defender side, and also just playing numbers, playing passively on the defender side too. It has been working well for them. Off timings have been working well for Crew at the same time, and look at the smiles that they have. They're confident right now into this whole series. They know now they have what it takes to continue such a deep run here in the lower brackets. And it starts off here with a dominant victory on Icebox. And now Sharks, pressure is on.
Yeah, it really is. It was such a great performance from Crew, and it's interesting too because we do have Bind next, I believe, and you know, Crew are actually a team that do like to ban both Icebox and Bind a lot of the time. So it's fun that we've seen these ones coming up for them. Obviously, you know, everybody knows how to play these maps. It really is just about your comfort in terms of your preparation, and sometimes other things too. Sometimes, you know, teams they'll be feeling it. You know, that they've just had a few good scrims perhaps. And they're like, you know what? We actually feel really good on this map, and things can change pretty quickly in that sense. So it's gonna be interesting to see if this bodes well for Sharks. I feel like their style, Van Silly, that they're a less default centric team. So maybe they'll find more love on Bind with a more set piece oriented approach.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for Sharks' end, as we talked about how their map pool wasn't that deep, right? And it's only really around the Icebox, the Bind, and the Haven. Bind itself, when they first came in here, they actually had a couple of changes in their composition. We'll have to see if they stick around to that at the same time. But when you look at Crew's side, again, studying the demos coming out from North America, from Europe, adopting a little bit more of that European play style, going with double initiator, putting a Brimstone right now in the composition too, which is something that Sharks has switched over at the same time going into this tournament. It could be a very good matchup in the end for this second map. This, for me, honestly, Dan, could be a toss-up on that second map between these two teams just because of how they could evolve by simply changing into a Brimstone instead of playing an Omen. I still find that Brimstone is very good on this map. The smokes that you could put up towards that A side on both sides of triple instead of playing dark covers, right? We've seen how difficult it was for playing dark covers for Sharks because you had players on Crew that were able to swing out and just surprise them at the same time. But overall in this first map, you definitely have to turn the page, put that behind you for Sharks. And this is not unfamiliar territory, Dan, because at the same time, when you watch the series of Sharks, it's always like a 13-5 for against them or a 13-5 for them. And we've seen that against Newturn. So I still wouldn't be nervous if I was a fan of Sharks. I still think they have what it takes to bring this to a third map.
And with that said, it is time to toss it to a quick break. We'll go to the analysts and then we'll be back right in the action.
Look at this drink, look at that girl. She like to dance, what a mad world. You could be you could be free. You like to dance, yeah, so do we. Look at this drink, look at that girl. She like to dance, what a mad world. You could be you could be free. You like to dance, do it on me. Wow, mix up, mob go crazy. It's like, wow, keep up. These boys get wavy, they're like, wow, keep up. These girls get freaky, so let's make it all I stay in the sun. That's some she like to dance. What a mad world. You could be you could be free. You like to dance, yeah, so do we. Look at this drink, look at that girl. She like to dance. What a mad world. You could be you could be free. You like to dance, do it on me. Wow, mix up, mob go crazy. It's like wow, keep up. These boys get wavy. They're like wow, keep up. These girls get freaky, so let's make it so I stay in the sun.
Join Riot and the LGBTQ+ community in celebrating Pride Month. Inclusive games mean a better experience for everyone. And while we cannot march this year, we can certainly celebrate in-game. All of our games will, obviously including League of Legends and Valorant, will have Pride content such as emotes, player cards, and more. Make sure you equip your content and show your support for the LGBTQ+ players everywhere. Thank you so much for the support. And that stuff looks awesome, by the way, so you should just go ahead and check it out. But, if you're crew, though, you're saying, que bueno, because that was a nasty display from them on Icebox. They walk away with a dominating 13-5 performance. And Potter, I'm throwing this to you, but not for the reason you think I am, because apparently, according to what you just said, every game that they've played has ended 13-5 or 5-13. So clearly these guys really like these numbers. What's going on here?
I don't know. Honestly, I like these numbers too. 13-5, that's sounding mighty fine, especially if you're crew this time around, because BNJ on that Sova, the intel that he was gathering, the recon, the timings of it, it really kind of neutered the Sharks, guys. We saw Prozen starting to heat up, starting to have that honing in on that aggro style, getting multi-kills because of his forward position. But when BNJ has his timings right, the jig is up. Sharks, they were getting sniffed out time and time again there.
Oh, I mean, look at that there. I mean, everything that could go right for crew went right. And that's the reason why, as you see here in these Prime Gaming map highlights, that it really felt like Paper Thin crew had everything figured out. And what's even more startling is that this team, according to some of the stats we've seen, they've played Icebox 4 times.
Yeah, they've been pretty good on Icebox, though. They were 3-1 on it. Just haven't had a lot of chances to play that, whether that just be it not being a favored map in their region. For example, there's just a lot of teams that don't like Icebox, so it just doesn't get played a lot. But I got to give a lot of credit here to Nagzet on their defenders side, doing a great job working off the info they have, cutting off the rotation routes of the other team. You saw there, I think it was on round 4, where he pushed through into mid, caught 2 members of the Sharks moving through their spawn, and just had a great spray transfer on him.
Yeah, and here you can see the players making their way in. This is going to be the Sharks, but I think that one startling bit from that game for me, Lothar, was Gabshe's ineffectiveness. Is very clear. He was having a hard time picking up the pieces throughout that entire matchup.
Oh yeah, that wasn't his match. He had 5 first deaths in this match, and that transferred altogether to 13 first bloods for crew. And from those 13 bloods, 11 were converted into a winning round, right? So that's 85% conversion rate on a first blood on Icebox. It's actually huge. It's insane. And I think this is why we have seen a completely different crew than we have seen against Fnatic. First and foremost, they banned Haven. That was a map that definitely didn't give them any favors. But on Icebox, they knew exactly how to hold angles and how to postpone planting of spike. So we have seen on B, there was so many good utility usage to just not allow the opponents to plant it and just have always the advantage. Because if you have the first blood, it's so much easier to play, right? But big kudos here to Klaus, because he was able to get those first bloods 5 times. And what is more even important, he was holding the lanes. He was the guy that was holding the sidelines. He was holding them really long and consistently. And he was just getting those lurkers, you know, he was just hunting them even without moving. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, the husky, you hear me? Hunting, I need coffee. Those pesky lurkers, you love to see it. Well, folks, that means we're going to send it over for game 2. At first, there was Benifer, but now there's Dan Silly. I'll let you guys take it from there.
Thank you, GB. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, this is awesome, man. I mean, through all these years, I finally get tossed by GB. What they call us Dan Silly. I actually haven't had a chance to cast with you, Dan, in an official match since we first met in London in like 2013. So it just brings it all back, and we're just having a good time right now.
Yeah, definitely. Don't think I was ready for that one. So shout out to GB for that. Really threw me off, but we're back on track here, and Sharks, they need to find their way back on the track as well, because they're facing elimination. Should they lose this map, they are done and dusted as far as Masters 2 Reyjavik is concerned, and we're going to Bind. And, you know, Bind is a map where, you know, maybe they'll find more success. It's really hard to say. I once again, it's hard for me to feel like, you know, having a lack of a Viper is really going to do them any favors here. Especially given how well Messino's been playing with that Viper. I think it was just such a clear demonstration of what you get for having that in your composition. And on Bind in particular, Viper is just so good. I mean, maybe you can just say that about every map at this point, but there's a lot of really excellent answers that Viper has in so many different scenarios. So already there's that for them to contest with.
Yep. I still find this interesting, though, Dan, because I think this is where we talked about a no Viper on for Sharks from time to time, but this time Sharks, it is a map that they're comfortable in with using a Viper. So Gabishus has been like one of those players that's been pretty good for Sharks on this map, and also one of their biggest opposition, and one of the teams that have been playing Bind very well in their region in Brazil has been Vikings. So you definitely could see a little bit more of that Viking play style into this lineup for Sharks. And I'm also a huge fan of the double initiator. And at that point, there's going to be a mirror composition or mirror matchup between these two teams, because Lich used to play an Omen, now going to a Brimstone, and now we're also live in a pistol round with Crew starting things off here on the defender side.
Yeah, we actually see the wall dropped immediately to get control of the ult orb. That's actually really interesting. I wonder if this is you know, any read, any knowledge that's coming through here from Crew.
Yeah,
trying to do a blind counter.
And I'm actually mistaken, too. I thought it was going to be a mirror matchup because Crew usually plays a double initiator at this part, but they actually switched things out, right? They have a Sage coming out. We saw the wall come out for the orb, and they're also taken away from the Sova. So this is going to be something new that our Sharks are not going to be accustomed to, Dan.
Yeah, this is going to be really fun to watch, and really happy to see Gavish's on the Viper here. Very slow opening pistol as these two teams exchange utility just at the early stages. But Sharks need to start to get a move on here. They don't have too much time remaining. There's an information play down long here from Klaus. He's going to spot the rotation. So that's a beautiful timing for Crew, because they're going to get that rotation into B, maybe just in the nick of time here. And it's going to be a push straight forwards. Not many bullets left there for Klaus, but just enough to get the kill and hold on to the position. He is in so much trouble. I don't even understand how Klaus is alive. Gavishi is able to take down B and J. So still fighting hard here, but time is also against them. Maybe time is the greater enemy at this point here for Sharks. Crew will finish off the push. And Sharks, I mean, it felt like they were in a good position until that info play came from Klaus. What a just series of heroics from Klaus.
And he still stayed alive, Dan. At the end of the round, he still stayed alive. He got a kill on top of that onto Gabish's and really slowed things down on that push. And I think even though, yes, the timing was perfect there for Sharks to get out from the hookah into the B site, what really slowed them down was not only the frenzies, but that toxic screen, which is why it's also okay to like keep that hookah area open when now they're pushing out towards the site. You had the wall come out, the frenzy's gonna melt him down, they have the decay debuff. It was just very powerful with how much bullets, even though he didn't have that many left for Klaus, the rotation order came in at the same time, and it just like, you saw Sharks literally melted at that point. But the wall gets broken, and the lineup comes in for Nagzet, and that's 2 kills now, make that even 3 for Crew Esports.
Yeah, this wall seems to be a thing right now, actually working out quite nicely for Nagzet, as you highlighted.
Yeah.
It is interesting, the wall there, because, you know, normally maybe you just throw in a smoke, but really guaranteeing the ult orb. Again, it is a question of investment. That's a 400 credit ability that's got a huge amount of utility in what you can do with it. So I'm not sure if I'm a fan of it just for the ult orb, but if they understand that this is a great way to deny how Sharks likes to default, then there's a lot of additional value there that we wouldn't necessarily see.
I do like the play, though. I find that this is something very similar as like the 4-block wall that you have on Tube, on Icebox, or even a 4-block wall that Scream, for example, does into sewers of the A side of Haven. So, yes, if it's getting spammed, you know that there's pressure going on there. If it's not being spammed, you could take the orb, rotate out, stack up more towards that B side, get their early rotates, and once the wall thaws up and breaks, I wouldn't be surprised if you throw like a Brimstone smoke right after, just again as how Liquid plays it on short A Haven side. With that, though, we do have those smokes that I was talking about from Brimstone, something that has changed here from Sharks. Bring that in. The toxic screen comes up at the same time, and you saw how beautiful that was for them to get in. And a passive retake play for Crew does not work out for their bonus round so far.
Yeah, really nice push from Sharks. They've dealt with every position really effectively here. Oh, there comes a very quick B&J. Satcheling forward, Prozin. Fantastic finish there with the Vandal. And that was a nice set piece. You know, it's such a great punish too, because again, we've seen that heavier presence right at the beginning of the round towards Showers. So for the Prime Gaming Flawless, what we're seeing here is, hey, you know, you guys are going to play mostly Showers on the defense. Well, we're just going to take short for free. And that worked out really nicely.
And I think the Frost Orbs that came out there from the Sage was a little bit too deep, where he actually punished him, where he couldn't really fall back out of it. So even if you're giving away that short side for the attackers to take, for you to still be able to take shower control and play that deep is still going to be very strong for the retake play, because as you throw those Frost Orbs on the ground, you're actually disrupting right now the pulse plant situations for the attack that allows a rotate to come back from the A side, where again, you have 3 flashes potentially from Klaus coming in from B side to A side that could really disrupt Sharks, on the pulse plant. That said, though, it was a perfect execution for Sharks, a flawless from Prime Gaming, and at the same time, that builds the economy, builds the momentum, and builds what they need, Sharks, to try to bring this to a third map.
Yeah, I'm liking that we see Nagzet switched up to Uka there. Completely different approach in the defense. And they've picked off Leitch and fallen off, and that's a huge pick to get, especially as, you know, without Brimstone, making these executes onto the site with the lack of smokes is going to be difficult. That said, Sharks are just maneuvering their way forward, contacting into the A site with great success, able to get the opening kills that they need. A 3v3. Crew will have players here on the rotation in time, but they need to be cautious. Make sure they can coordinate this attacking effort. And with the Seekers, they'll do just that, pushing forwards. But Prozin might just take the fight straight to them. Swinging out from U-Haul. B&J with a great defense, leaving just Brazan left. Over by U-Haul, catches one. He surely knows there's a stick happening right now. Nagzet is never coming off of this one, and he's going to just see it to completion. Crew will pick up the round. Again, it felt like Sharks had a good punish, understanding that they could just, you know, walk up the short position, given how the defense was playing. But Crew are they're just too good, man.
The Seekers are perfect as well too, right, to get that information. And I definitely saw that the key winning round, the key winning factor there, even though they lost a player, was that Nagzet still had that res. So they really had to try to find a way to maybe shut him out to prevent him from getting any res moving forward. But as you saw, as soon as that came back up, it was a 3 versus 1. They lost that Seeker play from Claus before he died, but it was still good enough to gain that information too for a crew to retake that round and get this. At least as we're talking about the cabbages, the Seekers, it's available for Fra on the attacker side here for Sharks. They could put good use to it so far, and it's actually going to be the showstopper to start things off, and it connects onto Nagzet and weakens up the B site.
Great early pick here. Mazino asking questions of short. Again, there's been so many lurks through that short position. It makes sense, but Klaus is actually going to go straight through the Viper's toxic screen. And there go the Seekers you were mentioning. It's going to get the information, also allows you to gain a lot of ground as it can just serve as some forward cover. Absorb some bullets for you. It's going to chase out all of the defenders from the sites. DNJ actually peeking beyond the smoke on Heaven will get taken out, and that's an unfortunate loss for crew. 3 versus 5 retake. Not looking all that likely here. They're going to save. Very sensible.
Yeah, it's because it was looking to be another Prime Gaming flawless, but this time on the end of Sharks, and it was a very nice execution, right? Disrupting now, Brazin moving in towards that B-side hookah, and also taking down a key member into Nagzet, who the one that's able to slow things down on any type of B-side aggression. Also, he was there with Klaus, and they still have the toxic screen, though, on that B-side. So this is what I've noticed as well from crew actually playing on the defense. It's not very often that you see them throw the wall across for like the shower side control, only from time to time. But when I'm looking at other teams, it seems to be like a basic and most common thing to want to put down towards the showers, just so that you could slow things down on early aggression executions into the A site. But now as you're using all that deniability, the slow ability from from Sage and also from the Viper inside the hookah side, you're really weakening up the A site. So as you force to rotate over, it's easier for Sharks to just explode into A right after.
Yeah, they've been really enjoying that so far. It's been really helpful, I think, for them. And I'm enjoying how much crew are mixing things up also on their defense. We're going to see Nagzet once again towards showers, so you might see that wall. But there's a few players here. There goes the bird flying through. Snake bite.
Nice little combo.
Some assistance.
Yeah. So I wonder if they're going to try to bring this a little bit more, this combination between Mazino and to Nagzet, just to try to slow things down quite often, not only with the slow orbs, with the snake bites, run down that clock and really force the hand for Sharks to move maybe on a later time when you know that Sharks plays things very aggressively.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting as well because Denaro has been waiting for a push towards B long, which you could have expected given how much presence was around showers. It wouldn't be too unlikely that crew would say, okay, hang on, it seems like there's a lot of players towards A, let's try to get information towards B and confirm that. But they didn't push at all. Klaus is going to be able to flash a lot of players there, so they are going to understand, well, crew, exactly what Sharks are doing at this point. There is some utility to delay. Even having an orbital strike available, oh, they're gonna hit up the TP. Quick rotation through there, straight through showers, but an Ice Orb to slow things down. This is actually a huge problem. Nagzet holding onto that position. And again, the orbital strike is still available. That could buy key time. There it goes into the showers. That's the spike now down on the ground. Mazino takes a forward position in the corner, and they have no idea that he's there. Beautiful play from crew, controlling the movement of Sharks.
The whole map. It's back to Icebox again. When Sharks thinks that they have map control, when they have actually forced rotations or whatnot, and are able to sell a fake, it didn't happen because I just mentioned a big flank. While all of this was happening towards this long B side that they were flashed out by Klaus with that guided light, you also had B&J that pushed down towards Sen and was already going for a big flank at the same time. And I like it because if they were going to get pressured later on at Octagon, well, maybe they have less enough numbers, but again, they still have that toxic screen. And now that you hear all this teleportation come out towards this B side, you know it's coming towards B. You still have a slow orb combined with the orbital strike to get those kills. It was just beautiful play for Crew to save their abilities and use them at the right time to just make, like, they didn't even have to bring that many gunfights to be able to win that round.
Yeah, they're doing a great job in just managing the information, managing the utility. Completely agree. Frazan there, getting some information on Hookah. B&J actually not being pushed out of Hookah, but instead pushes further in. Flash comes through. And they have a sense that B&J's got to be in this position. There goes the snake bite. B&J commits to the fight. Oh God! Actually comes out with the showstopper. Gets denied, unfortunately for him, by the snake bite. Almost his fourth. 40 seconds to go. A rotation from Sharks, looking to finish on this A site. But again, this utility very annoying to deal with. Nagzet, great defensive kill there from Triple, and the delay again is just so difficult for Sharks to get past. They can't deal with this utility. 20 seconds to plant the spike. The 4 rotations in here now from Crew. Once again, they look like they're in control of everything. Just have to hit the shots, but it's Sharks who might be a little bit better on that one. Delzik with something to say about it. Quick rotation, though, from Frazan through to the B site. It is a sprint. It's a race. Frazan might be able to just about plant this one.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, there's no more time for that.
Nope.
Gambling on the push. A push that never came.
Oh, my. And that's exactly it. Just this deniability again from Mazzino and also from Nagzet. This time towards short A. And I even saw that coming, that if they were forcing the hand and the attackers were like, well, screw this, we're going to go through the teleporter and go towards B. If they actually still had their Viper alive, the toxic screen again is going to come out. So just having them, they're basically like flies right now for Sharks running into the spiderweb that's being pulled out here by Crew, and they're just feasting right now onto Sharks, unfortunately, at this point. And now Sharks, they're realizing this. Okay, the fakes are not working. Our huge hits seem to be the way that they have the most success, I guess, the most success rates to just go for the all-out attack. I think now it's just try to determine how they want to do this right now. They have a Viper's Pit. They have a Hunter's Fury on the attacker too. Is this going to be a way to try to flush out Mazzino and Nagzet should they play towards Lamps one more time into the A site so they could get a Viper's Pit plant into this A site?
Yeah, that would be really cool to see. We haven't seen any Viper's Pit action just yet, and with 2 of them ready to go, fully loaded, it's going to be fun to see how that goes down. It has been really cool to see the dynamic around Showers, I've got to say. It feels like Crew, tactically speaking, seem to have this like extra layer to them, and that's been so very helpful. Just the level of delay that they have with their composition, it seems to be very difficult for Sharks, because even when Sharks, start out the round trying to deplete some of this utility by, getting rid of the ice orbs and getting rid of the brim smokes and so on, it still seems like somehow we're having Crew holding on to enough that they're still able to kind of effectively win the timings with their delay by having that utility still left in the tank by the end of the round. So whatever Crew are doing here, it's working out really well.
Definitely, and I haven't even seen where the Viper Cloud could have been that useful too for Crew. Even at that point, maybe I think it was on the double stack at short A from their position right now on that defense. So if they run out of abilities to slow things down and deny, they could always pull that back up so that when the attackers are running through, you're already getting the decay debuff. You're already losing 30 HP, and it's just going to be easier for the defenders to melt you down, basically. And speaking about melting, we see some toxic screen coming, or should I say a snake bite going through the teleporter into Hookah, and also a Viper's Pit into the A site, denying any type of vision in that area, and that's some big pain shells that's going to push Prazin back.
Yeah, this is always a really difficult spot to be in when the defenders have used the Viper's Pit like this, because what you have to think, okay, well, what will my opponents do once they use the Viper's Pit like that? Will they use it to play less players on the site, thinking that we're never going to go there so they can stack the B site in this case? Could we call that bluff? Or maybe they're not even stacking the B site. There's a lot in the way of mind games that happens in a scenario like this.
Yeah.
And you can see that Sharks is just keeping it simple for going for the B hit.
Exactly, but I was gonna say they have the Naru and they have Fra, two initiators that can get that information too. On top of the Hunter's Fury, it could help a lot, but they're still going into a crossfire setup in the B side then.
Yeah, Crew have players backside to deal with this. DESKRIPSI last one standing here for the time being, but Leitch able to deal with him, and that should be now the side open for the plant. You get some snake bites coming through. I'm not sure if that's gonna bounce and deny. Doesn't look like it will. Denaro with that plant for Sharks. Sharks looking good here. 3 versus 2 advantage with that spike on planted.
3 ults. There's no way you lose this round now for Sharks.
Oh, you just said it, didn't you? Is the jinx gonna come through here from Vansili? Crew are gonna creep their way forwards. Great crossbar setup. Mazino will indeed get taken down by that crossfire. So no ults even needed to be used, and that's great. That's so fantastic because you definitely would look at Sharks now and you know, peg them in the advantage going to this round just off of the ultimate economy alone.
I love, Dan, how you just said, is this going to be a jinx buy? And you had to say my name just in case, so you don't go down under the bus with me, right? So thanks for that. I thought you had my back the whole time, bro. No, but nonetheless, even though they had a 3-player crossfire set up inside that B site for Crew, just the amount of utility that was thrown out, the shock darts that I saw coming out at the same time, the satchel charge to allow Prazin to get into sight, and also being the bait for the rest to come out and get these kills has been huge at the same time. So a very nice execution for Sharks, saving those 3 ultimates into this round. And look at that, even though it took so many rounds for them to get a victory here for Sharks, you're already seeing Crew at a half buy, so low on the economy already.
We've got that U-Haul control coming through with the satchel straight away. Really nice opening from Sharks, again, using those ults to their advantage. And yeah, Crew on the struggle bus here. DESKRIPSI isolated in showers. Might wrap around, possibly. But Sharks, yeah, they're in a commanding position. They have time and position to do whatever they want here. They go for the teleporter rotation with Prozen in U-Haul still. So this is looking great. Okay, well, 1 player now is known. The Crew, and now the 2nd player is known as well. So they can pick up a judge, but
Spike planted.
that's about it.
Yeah, and now as you basically half bot, right? Wow, okay.
Didn't check for that with the dog. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, now that you had a half buy, you wanted to try to push a bit, looking for those exits at the same time, just to hurt the econ, because technically you should still be able to buy here for the next round for Crew. So I like the fact that he still went through the teleporter to try to get a frag. And speaking about frag, it's gonna be Fra instead. It's gonna get the last kill onto Klaus. It's gonna be a little bit of Sky on Sky, where you have the attacker side taking the upper hand, and 2 very needed rounds here for Sharks, because yes, this is their map pick at the same time, Dan, but when I look back at their records, the last 4 times that they've played it in their region, qualifying into this event, they've never won it. So this is why it's also very surprising for me that Sharks wants to continue to play on Bind. I think they're very confident with the lineup. I'd be confident with the lineup that I currently have as well. Again, being a fan of double initiators, to get information, to play for information, especially on the defender side too, is going to help a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, nice opener for the showstopper there from Prozen. And now we've got Klaus trying to get back into safety, just about able to dodge around elbow. Great shots though. Prozen is looking fantastic. Klaus is able to hold on to things here on elbow at the very least. Out comes the Seekers. And it looks like actually Crew have control of this site. We see that there is a rotation now from Sharks straight to the A site after pulling all of the rotation there from Crew. As you know, he's caught the spike on the cross. This is a problem. Gonna have to take the fight here is Gavashis, and unfortunately, the spike now, once again, is down on the ground. Oh, it looked so promising initially.
Yeah. And just from the cabbages, though, unfortunately, I love saying cabbages. I got to give credit to Taylor and yourself that pulled that out on your show. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to call these cabbages from now on. But just those seekers that came out that allowed Mazino to know where the attackers are rotating. So he holds the off angle. He's able to get the kill and drop the spike carrier onto Leitch. And not only that, throws on top of that the snake bite on the ground. And mechanically, what I also like is, yes, he's maybe wasting down bullets in this face-to-face battle, trying to spray underneath the wall, but he's just trying to run down the time so that his teammates can rotate from Spice. Because once he dies, it's an immediate trade. It was a guaranteed round, and the chemistry that comes in for Crew right now, despite them losing a couple of rounds, the last 2 rounds, they picked it back up right away once they have the economy working back in their favor.
Oh dear, nice opening by Leitch. Able to find a kill off of the spam through the smoke. Maybe that's why the wall's been going down there as well.
Yeah.
In previous rounds, the Crew. Nagzet on that hookah position is going to be falling off. So in the early round, we are seeing Sharks doing a pretty good job here on their default. Pushing back hookah control, getting that pick towards Showers. Now they reset back towards A.
Got your trail.
Or they're going to push him back at the same time too from that dart. But at least Delzig still has the orbital strike. So this could be very good right now as he's still holding Showers. He has great crossfire from his teammates. So he doesn't have to worry about getting pushed from the back. He does get the first kill, looks back towards his Showers, but loses a fight to Donato, unfortunately.
Nice shot by Leitch as well. Mazzino is in such a good position. It's down to Nagzet here on the flank. Is he going to be able to find anything here? Oh, Leitch again. Really good round from him so far. Definitely looked like Nagzet was on top of that one. Now Klaus in the 1v3. He's been spotted as well. So that is not going to happen. Klaus will fall back and save. And yeah, I feel like this round is all about Leitch. Just getting these two kills towards short were just hugely impactful. Mazzino really looked like he was about to put a stop to the shenanigans, but Leitch with a quick flick was able to deal with that.
And those were a couple of kills that that brought him on the board on that previous round. I think when he got the 4K was his first 4 kills of the game. Now tying up to these, we talked about how Sharks, we wanted to see them find their footing. We're starting to see this right now. This is a whole different game from that first map on Icebox. And getting 5 rounds so far, tying it up on a 6-6, I'd still be pretty happy for Sharks when things didn't look like it was starting too well by losing that pistol round. So now you want to see Gabish's popping off at the same time too. But speaking about popping off, the abilities, the usage right now being used by Sharks on the attack, on the execution too, has been very good. Like this wall continues to come out towards the A side. I haven't seen it really being thrown anywhere else. So keeping this wall up and keeping them guessing really conditions Crew as to keep them guessing where Sharks might be attacking, where they want to try to fight on the attack. But now that gets fully denied by a Viper's Pit that's thrown out by Mazzino.
We have, once again, Nagzet going back to Showers. And we get the Viper's Pit dropped on short as well. So really deterring Sharks from going there. Nice flick from Prozin, able to take down B&J. Really great opening there. And there's so much time left in the round to work with as well. This is certainly an IGL's dream. You're in a 5v4 with more than a minute to play with. The question is, what do the defenders do? They have that Viper's Pit still available on short A. So they're definitely feeling somewhat safe there, but they don't have any information right now.
Yeah, I feel that you're somewhat crippled too for Crew because of that Viper's Pit. You kind of want to stay in there, so you have a little bit of more of a weakness. You can't really stack rotations, so you're forcing even your Sage to stay Nagzet inside the Showers just in case a hit's coming in towards that A side. So this is looking very good for Sharks here on the attack.
The drone is a great counter to Viper. If you can find the Viper and Tagger, that would be great. But Mazzino able to dodge the drone, picks up the kill onto Prozin, pushes further forward, leaving Sharks in a desperate position. Leitch able to get control of Showers with that pick onto Nagzet. But there's still much more work to be done here. And Mazzino, and just such an annoying threat here, is going to be completely circumvented as we see the rotation towards B. But Klaus, how many times has Klaus done an excellent job in this position? Takes down one, the second, and the third! Klaus is so damn good! And now there's only one left standing, and there's no time. Mazzino finishes off Leitch, and that's a 7-5 finish in favor of Crew at the end of the first half of Map 2.
Wow. And IGL's dream to start things off early on a 5 versus 4, where Prozin continues to do an absolutely phenomenal job on the on the hookah control and getting those first bloods. But again, it comes down to the combination of just one player inside the site getting and fighting against Decays, and potentially a wall coming up, and Klaus on the off angle in that last round to mow down 3 and deny the plant has been huge there for Crew. So yes, it does cripple Sharks in terms of the morale moving into the pistol round where you thought you had that advantage. But still, taking the defender side now, we talked about how they could elaborate their defense and how they elaborate their strategies on this map for Sharks. It could still very much be doable.
Flashing control through onto Hookah, forcing back the defenders of Sharks. It's a good way to start things off here. So you can see that's going to force up the Viper's toxic screen. Definitely good to keep, or keep control of the fuel on that one.
It's pretty much the same setup too. But the thing is, you have double initiator, right? So with this wall, you can see that a lot of information with the Silva and the Sky now for Crew's side, and you're also playing with double frenzy inside the site. This is very scary for you to try to take.
Oh, Frazan gets caught on the jiggle. And Crew now are in a really good position to try to barrel into this B site, but the toxic screen, do they respect it? It's very dangerous to push past it, but they're going to make it work. Nice jump straight through the screen, and Crew are looking really good on this coordinated push. Fantastic stuff from them. Looking very, very comfortable and coordinated. Really nice spacing.
Oh man, definitely some nice spacing because they exploded off the guided light. You saw like they jumped out the toxic screen, something very common to do. The first player to come in, go for the jump, so you pull off the crosshair placement on the first player holding defense, and the second one could swing out no problem. Exactly like that, and even kills him through the toxic screen. That was huge there from NextZ. But that's only 2 players that swung out towards that area. The other 2 ran out towards that hookah, and they had the same type of spacing. They all focused inside that shed just to make sure that light couldn't hold anything there, and then it was an easy sight. And this, wow, super aggressive down on Sands.
Yeah, going straight through the TP there to try to get some early pressure in on B short. Not happening though. Crew are gonna just lock it down straight away when you lose a single player. They're happy with that one. So, well, eco round, that was a very short-lived one.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. And now we move into the buy round. So it's been a tough start to this half for Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Question is what they have here to show us.
Oh wow. Okay, so we are able to go with pretty much everything here. We're going for the full buy. We have a full kit. I'm okay with that previous round. I think crunching into teleporter on Sands is something that could catch some teams off guard, but Crew seemed to be ready for that. This round, though, we saw how aggressive Crew was actually on that first round. They're doing the same thing on the third, but it gets denied here from a teammate flash, and BNG couldn't really get in with that satchel and a judge.
Yeah, like in the control play here, Klaus almost gets caught. In fact, it's going to be BNJ that gets caught with the judge. So huge win for Crew, holding on to hookah control. And for the likes of Crew, had they taken hookah control, I think they were looking to finish A, rotate back with the spy through market, get it onto the A site. And Sharks actually going for the push here. They're so aggressive. Present force back. And at this point, Vansily, it really could be either site, but it looks like Crew
exactly
that B site.
That flash was huge because that killed all noise. You have to now try to re-peek out. You have nothing left in terms of guided light or a trailblazer to get information. So they go aggressive and they play the angle. They're trying to go. I thought it was going to be a double swing, but now Frazan gets caught, and this is going to be even harder here for Frazan. And unfortunately, he's only good for 1.
Really difficult spot here. Light's going to just swing onto Klaus, goes down as well. Denaro with the Phantom, unable to make anything happen. Ooh, big result there for Crew. Very nicely done. I was really liking what we saw on the defensive setup there from Sharks. I think it made a lot of sense, putting 2 players on long and just playing retake on the B site. But they got a little bit unlucky in that first engagement. We're going to see it here, actually, on the left side. Frazan just slightly off with the timing. And Crew looking really good still.
Very, very good. Again, another, I think it was a first blood that came in favor of Sharks, right? But then it was a bonus round here for Crew. They still get the victory in the end. And I was scratching my head a little bit. I'm not against the fact that Parazin actually pushed down towards Sands, but what caused him to push down towards Sands when you also have two initiators in your lineup? Again, I'm gonna get back onto that to try to get the information. So I know he was trying to go for a flank moment, but was there something else that was being thrown here out from the initiators to get that information to have Parazin try to move forward? And because he falls back, not only he surrenders Sand, but he also surrenders Hookah when they had that perfect double stack in the beginning and gained that map control. So giving that away, forcing to reposition on the defense, and then gambling on a crossfire setup on B side where you don't have information. Again, he came back to Fra, forced to peek out with his body, and also losing his life in the process. So Crew doing a good job continuing to maintain the pace and control the pace of this whole series so far.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the ways in which they've been accomplishing that, and just also how active they are. Also, just it was great to see in that previous round, holding on to Hookah control, and then actually still deciding to go for pushes afterwards to try to catch Sharks off. So for Sharks, they never feel safe. There's never really a moment where they can feel safe.
Ironic
from their opponent,
because you're Sharks.
Yeah. And we actually get aggressive play around A Short and Cubby here, getting Prozin in a really deep position. We talked about that aggression. Has the Judge as well. Perfect weapon for the job.
Yes.
And I don't know if Mazina is going to have a good time here. This is looking... I'm very afraid for Mazina.
At least it's a default, right? So if he dies, at least it's information that it's close. They're creeping up slowly at the same time, and also at Showers. It's looking to be a hit towards the A side at the beginning, but it really comes down to this first fight at Short A.
Oh, and Prozin's going to be moving into the Brimstone smoke as well. This is, again, feeling quite dangerous. How cognizant might they be that Sharks have placed Prozin in a forward position? Looks like he'll finally ease up a little bit as the smokes go away, but still very dangerous with this Judge in this position. Oh!
Wow.
Massino, I don't think he knew anything about that one. Just jiggling with the Phantom takes him down, and that's going to be a free A site to take full advantage of. The Viper's Pit is down as well, and this would be a 2 versus 5 retake. I don't think that Sharks want anything to do with this, but see if they can get any damage in here. Well, wow. It's a Prime Gaming flawless from Crew.
That was even on top of that, not only for the kill, but a beautiful execution. Yes, you did play against a half buy only, so technically you do have the advantage here for Crew. But to see, again, those 2 smokes coming in from both sides of triple, the Viper Wall, but not only that, the pain shells just to make sure you clear out towards the back of the APC that was combined with the slow orb, and also allowing Raze to get on top of the APC. Just the map control in the execution itself for Crew was beautiful in itself. And with that, it shows that not only Sharks have been comfortable playing on this map, but definitely Crew in the end. And so far, you're looking at the scoreboard here, Dan. You've gotten Sharks at 5 rounds. And if it continues to what Potter was saying on the analyst desk, potentially this could be it as well. But you hope that it's going to be the other way around and that Sharks can come back and bring this potentially in a closer game and hopefully win the second map.
Yeah, we'll see what they're able to do. They are holding on to Hookah currently, Sharks. And the question is if Crew are going to be able to force them out. I like what Gabashiz is doing, just showing presence here, but you've got to be so careful.
He's been good for it, though.
He's actually going forward. He knows his angles. Beautiful stuff. The distance advantage there for Gabashiz is used to perfect effect. And able to fall back in a way now, and this is very scary because it looks like we'll get Crew starting to try to swing onto the side. The toxic screen is there. It goes down! Gabashiz, great stuff from him. What a round so far from Gabashiz, looking to finish it all off, but will get taken out. Done more than enough, as Brazan is the one to finish off Klaus for the round for Sharks. And if we're going to get a comeback, that's a great round for it to start. Fantastic play from Gabashiz.
This is where it's going to get dangerous. You want to poke the sleeping bear, and that being Gabashiz himself. Despite losing by so many rounds, despite not living up to the performance as we walk from Gavish's, he doesn't care. Still continues to push forward, still brings in the confidence, and that is exactly what you want in terms of this LAN setting. The pressure is on, but you don't want to demonstrate that. You still want to play the same game as if you're playing online, as if you're playing from home, and he brought some amazing results there. This could potentially keep Sharks into the game so far, as they have a full gun round in this round. They have a Viper Spit that controls all of Showers, actually. Another different way to run the Viper Spit towards this map, actually, on Bind. And now you could focus players, a stack, towards the short A and also towards B.
And the Seekers will actually allow a clearance there for Gavishis, but once again for Showers. So at this point, it's going to be a fast adaptation. We get the drone coming through from Denaro there, just trying to see, okay, well, we've taken over so much control around A, surely I should see something around B short if they're rotating to B, but Crew are playing quite slowly, and they're actually, they might be calling the bluff here and looking to just send it towards this A site. Spike is still down on the ground towards Market, and oh no!
Huge!
Big paint shell kill onto Mazzino. And it's the desperation play into the B site. Will Sharks be able to defend it? Oh no! Denaro goes down on the peak! He has a Hunter's Fury as well, but still, it's looking good for Crew as they make their way in.
I can't believe it, Dan. It was looking so good. Again, they had full control of Showers to kill onto short. They had smokes on Hookah. They didn't use it. They got punished when they were rotating back. And now Crew, they've turned around over. That's back on a 3 versus 3. They have a crossfire set up into the site. 2 players inside Hookah. Very difficult for Sharks to take this back because they have no flashes.
Such a great setup. Now down to Frazan to try to keep the dream alive here in this round for Sharks. And they are making it as painful as possible. Our Crew at this point is forcing him, just off the flash. There we go, Delzik finishes things. And Crew, as you say, Vansily, it just really felt like that was such a good round for Sharks to be able to just close down. But some of these peaks, you know, it just didn't go their way. It just started with Denaro losing his 1v1. He had Hunter's Fury as well, so
yeah,
would have had the ability to use that to delay.
Delay, retake. You have, again, your Sova, right? Owl Drone, Recon Dart. You have so much into your utility. I'm okay with giving that up. Giving up the B site when you think it's lost because they took the teleporter into B. Just have your teammates come back. You still have a numbers advantage. Go for that instead.
Oh, this is scary. Mazzino's got a great angle there. The spray transfer is almost good for it. Sharks will take down Mazzino. Nagzed is investigating. Oh, no, they line up! And that's the res as well. If it wasn't bad enough, they get an extra player out of it too. And Nagzed's going to just lock off U-Haul. Denaro there with that Hunter's Fury. Able to pick off one, but it's still a 2v4 here. And this is it. Vansily, if they lose this round, if Sharks lose this round, they're out.
Well, you have Orbital Strike, so this is something that could maybe help out. Lich hopefully could get something in terms of map control by ulting towards the U-shaped hallway, and then they can push out from that. There you go. They force it out, but BNJ comes out of the U-shaped hallway with a showstopper, and this is going to be almost game over here, Dan.
It's looking like it right now as Sharks will try to make something happen. Denaro making his way forwards. The Crew, they are playing disciplined here. The spray comes through, and Crew will finish it. A decisive victory over their opposition in Sharks. It really felt like Crew were a level above in this series, and they will move forward in the tournament. And unfortunately for Sharks, they won't get to do that. They are done here in their time in Iceland. It was a great showing from them. We got to see a lot of really cool stuff, but Crew, it's all about them.
Exactly. For the Brazilian fans, obrigado to Sharks for such good games. It was a great series on the day yesterday against Newturn, but unfortunately their run ends here. And we had that question mark. Paper Thin was saying the same thing here, Dan, going into this matchup. After seeing how Crew performed versus Fnatic, the question mark was there. How are they going to play? What type of potential can we see from Crew? Because Vikings themselves, in an interview with the Plancha boys, Sassi and Sadak were saying, Crew, they're probably even better than Sharks at this point, but we didn't see that on the first day. Now we finally do. Crew, they definitely have the teamwork. They have the strategy. The executions were beautiful here on the sites of Bind. And now we see how far, or we want to know how far can they go. it's not over now. There's still so much more Valorant to be played throughout this bracket, and also some tough opposition.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Van Stel.
Yalah. Hah? The fuck?
Tactics, strategy, they are
Udah,
definitely on
udahan
top of
ini sih.
this latest meta as well.
Udah.
And so
Yeah.
for me, they could. It really
Udah
does feel
capek
like
cuy duduk.
they could cause some serious upsets here moving forward.
Yes, definitely. Even for me, looking at
Lanjut
Crew at this
besok deh.
point, predicting how they would move into this
Pagi
bracket,
gejal.
into this tournament, I wouldn't be afraid to
Putih.
say that not
Weh,
necessarily
selamat
they
tidur
would
deh.
be a dark horse,